Hello, wishing you moments of comfortable entertainment. This is an engaging audio channel exclusively dedicated to your favorite audiobooks.
This is Audible.
Audible Studios presents Only With Me, written by Kelly Elliott, performed by J.F. Harding and Charlotte North. Chapter 1. Nicholas, Nick.
So what do you do when you're not SWAT teaming?
I glanced up at the young woman standing at our table. Her bright red lips puckered out in an attempt to look sexy while she leaned over and put her tits on display. All I really wanted to do was tell her she had lipstick on her front tooth. Focusing back on my sandwich, I ignored her. It was a dick move, but damn it all to hell, I just wanted to eat. Phil, another SWAT team member, answered her.
"We trained, ma'am."
The waitress laughed.
Ma'am? Holy shit, how old do I look?
None of us answered. Hell, we knew better than to touch that shit with a 10-foot pole. If I was to guess, though, I'd say she couldn't have been more than 20.
What kind of training?
She asked. Cole kicked me under the table. She wasn't going to go away until I talked to her. With a sigh, I put my sliced brisket sandwich down and wiped my hands on my napkin. I cleared my throat, flashing her my signature smile, and replied, "Ma'am, if we told you, we'd have to kill you." Her smile faltered a little before it grew wider. She got what she wanted, me talking to her.
How about drinks later, handsome?
Damn, that was fast. Usually it took the new waitresses at least a week before they were throwing themselves at one of us. With a fake chuckle, I replied, "I don't think my wife would like that very much." With a pout, she shrugged.
Well, you can't blame a girl for trying.
Spinning on her heels, she headed to another table.
"I hate new waitresses,"
Phil mumbled.
I hate that they always want Nick. What the fuck is wrong with the rest of us?
Cole asked.
I'd have taken her up on the drinks.
"Yeah, if you want your ass thrown in jail."
She looks 16, Phil stated with a deep rumbled laugh.
"It's the Greek in him. It's like a magnet for women. I have yet to see one it hasn't worked on."
Our Sergeant Oliver said.
I almost laugh every time you say my wife,
Cole said. Rolling my eyes, I went back to eating. Was it too much to ask for us to eat in peace? We'd been coming to this restaurant for over 6 years now. Once the newness of seeing all of us walk in wore off, the waitresses usually treated us like every other customer. But when there was a new one and she saw us walk through that door in tight t-shirts, muscles on display, and the word SWAT splayed across said shirt, something happened. It was like their hormones were turned up into overdrive. Yeah, well, it keeps the ones I'm not interested in at bay. Phil laughed.
"And you're not worried the ones you fucked aren't going to say you're a lying bastard?"
It was true. At times I did worry about my little lie. Over the years I had screwed 1 or 2, or maybe 6, of the waitresses at Roy's place. None of them bothered to even ask if I was married. Each was a fast fuck. In the alley behind the restaurant, in my truck, outside the bar before we even made it in. The back seat of their car, Roy's office, and my favorite, fucking Scarlett in the bathroom while the rest of the guys sat out there and ate. Bastards still had no clue about that one. I smiled. Something to be said about public sex. With a shrug, I responded, "They got what they wanted. Besides, they never stay long enough to care." Cole looked over to the long counter.
Scarlett's still here.
Glancing over my shoulder, I watched as Scarlett, Roy's daughter, poured a cup of coffee for a customer. Her dark hair pulled up in a ponytail and one of her signature Dierks Bentley t-shirts on. She winked and said something to the old man before turning around and grabbing a few plates. I turned back to Cole. Scarlett's different. She's part owner, you asshole.
And the occasional hookup.
Shrugging, I replied, "What's wrong with that?" Holding up his hands, he laughed.
Nothing at all, my friend. Nothing at all. We've all had the go-to fuck buddy at one point.
I wasn't sure why, but Cole's comment bothered me more than it should have. Was that all I was ever going to have in my life? A fuck buddy? My phone buzzed on my side. Pulling it out, I frowned as I read the text. "Mom, don't forget dinner tonight." I quickly typed out my response. "Me. Can't make it tonight. Training session." "Mom, don't lie to me, Nicholas. I will find out." Laughing, I turned to Oliver. "If my mother sends you a text, we're training tonight." He nodded like what I had said was nothing new. It wasn't. Ever since Thad and Thano had settled down, my mother was even more eager to set me up with a good Greek girl. I was almost positive the last girl she tried to set me up with was a distant cousin.
Hiding again, huh?
Oliver asked. Yep, I replied as I typed another text. Me. I've got to run, Mama. Love you. Mom. Love you. If you finish up, stop by. Maria's daughter is in town. I lifted my brows. That might be fun. Cassie was beautiful with her long, dark hair and brown eyes that begged for more. The last time she was in town, we had one night of hot sex. The girl knew how to work her tongue, that's for sure. Oliver's pager went off. Without a word, everyone jumped up and headed out as he called and got the information.
We've got a high-risk narcotics warrant. Let's head back.
My heart pumped harder. I fucking loved my job. It was dangerous and required fast thinking, planning, and balls of steel to be on SWAT. My career choice had also kept me single. I'd yet to meet a woman who could handle the fact that I was a cop, let alone a SWAT member. Not that I was looking. Far from it. I liked my single lifestyle. No one to answer to and plenty of women to go around. At least that was the mantra I repeated to myself all the time. Once we made it back to the station, we went over the plans down to every last detail. Every single thing was planned. Where our entry points were, where the pull teams would go, and what the backup plan would be. 5 hours later, we were ripping the iron gate off and breaking the door in on a house that was suspected of selling heroin out of it. "Police! On the floor!" I shouted as we rushed in. 3 guys immediately dropped to the floor, and one dumb fuck took off running for the back of the house to try to get out. Idiot. I'd have him in less than 30 seconds. Thud. "Don't even think about it. Give me your hands." Fighting me every step of the way, the suspect shouted out, "I didn't do nothing!" I restrained his hands and pulled him off the ground. Heading into the main living room with the dirt bag I had caught, Liam walked around the corner. "The rest of the house is clear." I called in. 3 in custody. All clear for narcotics to come in. My heart was still racing as we headed back to our vehicle. Another successful bust. This would never get old. The thrill of my job was all I needed. The drive back to the station was filled with Oliver going over the operation, what went right, what could have gone wrong, and what we could have done better. "Beer?" Cole asked as we stripped out of our gear and threw it into the back of our police cars. "Sounds good."
Trevis,
Oliver called out.
your mother texted. Told her you were on a warrant issue.
With a roll of my eyes, I sighed and slammed my trunk. Turning to Cole, I said, "I'm going to need something stronger than a beer." His face lit up. That meant we were heading out on the town and would most likely both end up getting lucky tonight.
"Hell yes. I was hoping you'd say that."
With a smile, I shouted, "Later, guys." Oliver, Phil, and Liam each lifted a hand. They were all heading home to their wives or girlfriends. Not me, though. The last thing I needed was a woman tying me down. I was perfectly happy being alone. At least that was what I kept telling myself.
Chapter 2. Gabriella, Gabby. I stared out the window as I wound the yarn in a ball. "It's a new pattern I'm trying for my granddaughter. Oh, I love it, Beth." Glancing to my right, I watched as Lou and Beth oohed and awed over a new blanket pattern Beth had bought. Beth looked up and showed me the pattern. Smiling, I nodded. "It's precious. She's going to love it." The look of pure happiness on Beth's face made my heart fill with happiness as I let out a soft sigh and went back to my busy work. I loved coming to knitting club. It always relaxed me and made me think of my grandmother. She was the one who had taught me to knit, and being with these women reminded me of a happier time. My eyes scanned the mountains out the window. One of these days, I'd build up the courage to hike up one of them. My somewhat fear of heights kept me from venturing out to them. Until then, I would sit in a room with 4 other women who were significantly older than me and knit. Lou gasped as Beth showed her the yarn she was using for her future grandbaby. She insisted it was a girl, even though her daughter and son-in-law decided not to find out what the gender was. "That pink is perfect," Lou gushed. Beth held it up for the rest of us to see. "Beautiful," Karen said. "Love that pink." Nancy added. With a smile, I said, "Lovely." Everyone turned to Charity, my best friend, roommate, and business partner. She was sulking in the corner like she did every week when she came to knitting club. Clearing my throat, I said, "Chair?" She snapped her head and lifted her thumb up. "Great." Beth seemed disappointed by Charity's response. I wasn't sure why. It was pretty darn clear Charity was not here of her own free will. She lost a bet. I won. That meant knitting club for both of us. Beeping from across the room caused Charity to jump out of her seat and cry out, "Time's up!" Lou and Nancy let out a yelp and covered their hearts. "You scared the fright out of me, Charity," Nancy said. Charity grinned. "I scared the piss out of you, Nancy. Just say it." With red cheeks, Nancy waved her hand to dismiss Charity as she giggled and said, "You're such a bad girl. It's a good thing I'm not your mother, young lady." Charity glared at me, then fake laughed while turning back to Nancy. "Oh, you know I'm kidding. Enjoy your day, ladies." She was out the door and to her red BMW faster than I could say knit 1, purl 2. Slipping into the front seat, I waited for her to start her weekly bitch session. Right on cue, she went for it. Dropping her head back against the seat, she closed her eyes and groaned. With a quick snap of her head up, she turned and glared at me. "I cannot believe I let you drag me to this thing called hell." My lips pressed together tightly to keep from laughing. "Honestly, Gabby, the damn club is called Knitters Are Pearls. That should have been your first clue." This time, I did laugh. "Oh, come on, it's not that bad. You're not even trying." Her mouth dropped. "You want me to socialize with women who are old enough to be my mother? Did you know Karen tried to set me up with her son? She told him I was a virgin. Why in the hell would she think I was a virgin?" I covered my mouth in an attempt not to laugh harder. Shrugging, I said, "Maybe 'cause you're in a knitting club?" "Exactly my point. Ugh. I hate you so hard right now." My phone buzzed in my purse. Reaching in, I read the text from Max. Dang it, Max has an issue. Charity pulled out onto the main road and punched the gas. Max always has an issue. "What's it this time?" "He said Miss Loft is in and wants to know why I didn't make Zeppelis." "Fuck Miss Loft." Gasping, I cried out, "Charity!" "What? The lady is crazy. She comes in every day and buys your desserts and then pawns them off as her own for her rich boyfriend. I hope she gets caught one of these days." That still wasn't nice. Charity came to a stop and turned to me. "Just say it. You know you want to say it." I looked into her feisty hazel eyes. "I don't want to say it." "You do. I know you don't like her." It was true. I loathed the woman, but I'd never call her names. Only under my breath. She's a customer. I love all of my customers. Charity hit the gas, causing my head to hit the headrest. "Bullshit. One of these days you'll say it. The woman will push you too far and you'll crack." I shook my head. "Nope. I've worked too hard to be where I am. I will not call our customers names. I leave that to you. And like I said, she is a fucking bitch." I rolled my eyes and groaned. This was my payback for dragging her to knitting club. 10 minutes later, we were parking in the garage of the building we lived in. My bakery was located on the first floor. 4 years ago when I came through Colorado Springs, I never thought I would fall in love with it. But one drive through old Colorado City and I was hooked. As I walked around the shops, I came to the bakery that was for sale. I instantly knew it was a sign this was where I belonged. After spending 2 years jumping from town to town, I finally felt safe enough to settle in one place. At least until my past caught up with me, if it ever did. As long as I stuck to the original plan my brother and father set up, I'd be safe. "You okay? You seem like you're in another world," Charity asked, pulling me from my thoughts. "Yep, I'm heading to the bakery to see what's going on." She rolled her eyes. "Right, Max and his Emergency. I'm going to pour myself a hard drink to forget the last 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back. With a chuckle, I shook my head and bounced down the stairwell. Charity swore Max had a thing for me. I disagreed. Besides, I was almost positive he had a girlfriend. Unlocking the back door, I stepped into the hallway. One side housed the restrooms, storage room, and cleaning closet. The other side was my office. I'd converted the 2 existing offices into one when I bought the bakery. It was where I lived for the first 6 months after I bought the place. It was convenient when I had to get up at 3 in the morning to start baking. Stepping into my office, I grabbed my apron, tied it on, and took in a deep breath. Glancing around the space, I grinned. I loved this place. I still couldn't believe I was lucky enough to get the 2nd and 3rd floors when they became available. The top floor was my apartment, 2 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. The remodel took forever, but it was worth it. That's when I met Charity. We instantly hit it off, and when I learned she loved to bake, we became business partners. "Hey, what are you doing here on your day off?" I jumped when Liza spoke. "Shit, you scared me," I said as Liza stood there staring at me with a smile on her face. Liza worked at the bakery part-time while she went to culinary school. "Thank God you're here," Max cried out. "What's wrong?" I asked. "That woman. I want to hit her in the face so hard she won't remember her name for a month." My eyes widened as Liza laughed. "Oh yeah, Miss Loft. She's still here." "What?" I gasped. "I'm telling you, Gabby, you need to ban her. Ban her," Max said as he pushed his hand through his short brown hair. With a moan, I replied, "All right, let's go get this taken care of." Pulling my long blonde hair up into a ponytail, I cracked my neck, popped my knuckles, and got ready to deal with the worst customer on the planet. If she was in New Jersey, she probably would have been taken out by a friend who knew a friend. I walked into the main area of the bakery. With a smile, I glanced around at the handful of people who filled the tables. I mainly served dessert with a few options for salads and cold sandwiches, so it made my heart happy to know my creations were bringing people in. For years, I was told I needed to add wine to the menu. It hadn't been announced yet, but the 2nd floor was being turned into an upscale wine bar. A dream of my father's that I was making my own reality. "Well, it's about time you showed up." Miss Loft jumped up and made her way over to me. "Where are the Zeppelis?" I was about to answer her when the bell on the front door chimed. I glanced that way, strangely drawn to see who was coming in. Everything stood still, as if time had ceased for a few brief moments. Opening my mouth to talk, I was stunned into silence. A burst of excitement and curiosity for the man who walked in caused tingles throughout my body. Holy crapoly. I'd never in my life seen a guy so drop-dead gorgeous. My eyes roamed his perfectly fit body, dark hair, sun-kissed skin, and stubble. Damn. I loved stubble. Then my gaze landed on his shirt. Colorado SWAT. Oh yes, a police officer. How I loved a man in uniform. My eyes took another gander over his body. Black pants, black boots, and a gun strapped to his side. Hot as hell. What would it feel like to be under such a guy like that? The thought alone made my panties wet. Ugh, stop it, Gabby. What in the hell is wrong with you? He walked over to the counter where Liza was attempting to wipe the drool from her mouth. There was something about this guy that kept my attention drawn to him. I'd seen plenty of good-looking men, but this guy, he seemed different. So very different. That broad chest, those delicious arms, I bet he could pick a girl up and Did you hear what I said, Gabby? Miss Loft's voice pulled me from my naughty thoughts. Good Lord, what is the matter with me? Is it hot in here? I asked as I fanned myself and looked around. Do we need to turn the AC on in here? Miss Loft's expression hardened. What? Stop changing the subject. I really didn't want to be dealing with crazy lady right now. I wanted to walk away, push Liza to the ground, and finish helping Officer Dreamy. Liza laughed and my eyes swung back to the counter. I was instantly jealous that Liza was talking to him. Bitch. Putting my fingers to my temple, I groaned. What in the hell? I mumbled. What was that? I lifted my head and glared at Miss Loft. I didn't make Zeppelis today. I don't guarantee certain things to be made every single day. But my Henry wanted Zeppelis today. I need Zeppelis! She raised her voice, causing the patrons in the bakery to look over at her, including Officer Dreamy. Great, that's all I need is for Crazy to draw the police's attention to me. It's one thing to look and dream about a police officer, but to actually draw his attention to me? Not so much. You're not listening to me. My man wants Zeppelis. Gabby, I need you to make me Zeppelis. Now! And that's when it happened. I snapped. There was really no reason why I picked this moment to have had enough. Maybe it was because I was missing out on Officer Dreamy, or that Charity was right. I had wanted to call Miss Loft a fucking bitch. What did you call me? Miss Loft asked as her face turned red. Oh no, I whispered. Max laughed and said, Yeah, you didn't think that in your head, darling. You said it out loud. Looking over my shoulder to Max, I mouthed, Shit. He smiled and said, It's about time. You called me a bitch, Miss Loft exclaimed. I believe she called you a fucking bitch. My head snapped over to the customer sitting at a table who had filled in Miss Loft's oversight. I'm sorry, but this lady is rude every time she comes in. It was deserved. I lifted my hands as I gestured for everyone to stop. Wait, Miss Loft, I'm sorry, it slipped. But you seriously cannot expect me to make something your husband wants on a whim. She guffawed. Boyfriend. Christ, do you even listen when I talk to you? Blonde bimbo. Oh no, she didn't. I'm finished with this lady. If he wants them so bad, you could always, I don't know, bake them yourself and stop lying about it? At first, she stood there glaring at me. Then she started laughing, which made me laugh in a nervous way. Peeking over to the counter, Officer Dreamy was watching what was happening. His stare caught mine and my breath hitched. The way his eyes darkened had my insides flipping all about. Couldn't help but wonder if his thoughts about me had gone just as naughty. Don't be ridiculous, Gabby. Listen, Cupcake. Get your ass back in that kitchen and make me my Zeppelis. Focusing back on Crazy Lady, my hands went to my hips as I opened my mouth to tell this bitch off. I'd had enough of her kind of crazy. Listen here, you... Excuse me. Is there a problem here? Glancing up, he was standing there. Up close, he was even more attractive, his muscles more apparent. His voice was smooth as silk and felt like a warm blanket wrapping around my body. I was instantly calmed. And then it happened. Stupid took over. What? I seriously could not form a word to speak after hearing that man talk. He not only looked like a god, he talked like an angel. His hazel eyes sparkled as he tried not to smile. There was a touch of gold specks that seemed to shine a bit brighter. Crazy Lady spun around and went to lay into Officer Dreamy when she noticed he was a cop. She dropped her pointed finger and stared at him. I know how you feel, lady. He glared at her before speaking again. Vivian Loft. Huh? He knows her? I was just leaving. My eyes darted back and forth between Crazy Lady and Officer Dreamy. I'm sure you were. And I bet you were telling this nice young lady that you won't be coming back. Ever. Her eyes turned black. You're a real asshole, Nick Drevis. Asshole! I hate you and I hope you get shot. All that could be heard were gasps across the bakery. I was pretty sure my eyes were about to pop out of my head from sheer shock, not to mention I'd have to scrape my jaw off the floor. How could she say that? What a bitch. He laughed as everyone watched Miss Loft storm out of the bakery. The second the door shut, the entire bakery erupted in cheers. Turning to me, Officer Dreamy smiled. Lord, I'm for sure going to have to change my panties. Closing my eyes, I got a grip on myself. This is what happened when you didn't have sex in forever. I took a deep breath and got my thoughts back in order. Clean thoughts only. My eyes snapped open as I tried to shake away my wandering thoughts. I smiled as I looked up at the tall, dark, and handsome man standing before me. I take it you know her? Officer Dreamy's smile faltered a bit as he narrowed his eyes at me and stared at my mouth. When his eyes slowly moved up and caught mine, I held my breath and prayed he didn't recognize me. There would really be no reason why he would, unless he lived in New Jersey 6 years ago. Then his smile grew bigger, and my stomach dropped fast and hard. Lord, help me. The man could probably make a woman orgasm simply by smiling at her.
I wish I could say I didn't, but unfortunately, I do.
Huh. Interesting. Old girlfriend? Old lover? Either way, lucky bitch.
She's an old family friend.
Yep, old girlfriend. That is a roundabout way of not saying she's an old girlfriend. I thought he was going to fall over laughing.
Now, that made my day, agape mani. Vivian and me? No, not a chance in hell. She's honestly an old family friend who wanted more with me than I wanted with her.
Agape what? I had no idea what he called me, but it made my insides melt, and I was pretty sure if he told me to drop to the ground and get ready for him, I'd do it willingly. Nodding, I lifted my brows. Ah, I gotcha. Anyway, thank you for stepping in. Dessert is on me. Pick anything you want. I didn't think his smile could get any better, but I was wrong. Cue the dimples. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just moaned out loud.
Chapter 3. Nick. What in the fuck? I just called this woman sweetheart. I never called women pet names, and I certainly never said it in Greek. She showed no reaction, which confused the hell out of me. My heart was racing, and I had to fight to pull my eyes away from hers. Her smile about knocked me off my feet, not to mention the angelic way she spoke. What is this weird feeling in my chest? Jesus, snap out of it, Drivas. It finally dawned on me she asked me a question when she tilted her head and scrounged her nose in the most adorable way. Fuck. All I could think about was having her under me. What was that? I asked. She laughed, and it hit me square in the chest. The warmth that spread through my body was something I'd never experienced before. It left me feeling both confused and turned on as fuck. Dessert is on me. Fuck yes. I'd lick dessert off this girl's body any day. I could only imagine the beautiful body hidden under all those clothes. Nodding, I motioned for her to lead the way back over to the display. How long have you been open? I asked, while I examined the treats before me. Everything looked amazing. 4 years. My head snapped up. What? You've been here for 4 years? Always as a bakery? She giggled. Yep. I ran my hand over my stubble as I thought about how I'd never seen this little bakery before. How have I missed this? Shrugging, she replied, Do you live nearby? Not really. I just got back from looking at a little house over on 23rd and Kiowa Street. Her eyes widened in surprise. The blue one? Yeah, some asshole keeps outbidding me. I went to look at it again to see if I wanted to put in one more offer. Her cheeks blushed, and I couldn't help but notice how her blue eyes lit up. Chewing on her lip, she mumbled, The corners of my mouth rose into a smile. You're the asshole, aren't you? Pressing her lips together tightly to keep from laughing, she nodded. I am. Damn. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you that. She waved me off. It's okay. How would you have known, right? Besides, I pulled my offer earlier today. My eyes traveled her body again. Well, what little of it I could see now that she was behind the counter. What? Why did you pull your offer? Another customer walked into the bakery, but the other girl who was helping me earlier walked up to them. I'm opening a wine bar upstairs on the 2nd floor. With the amount of work going into that, there was no way I could put time into another project. A wine bar, huh? I like wine. What the hell? I like wine? Where in the hell is my game? Her brow lifted. Well, then, you'll have to stop by on opening night. I'd like that. We stared at each other for a few seconds before she broke away and looked down to the desserts.
So, do you have a favorite Italian dessert?
Glancing again over the desserts, I saw the panna cotta. I loved panna cotta. The creamy custard-like dessert was one of my favorites. I'll give your panna cotta a shot. She smirked.
You'll never look at panna cotta the same again. It was my great-grandmother's recipe.
Don't you think before I taste your panna cotta I should get your name? Seriously? If I could, I'd punch my own face right now. What is this girl doing to me? Everything I say makes me sound like an idiot. There went that radiant smile again. Her blonde ponytail swung around as she turned her head to cover the blush in her cheeks. Peeking back at me, she answered,
Gabby Mandela, and yours is Nick Drivas.
I smirked. She had remembered. Her teeth sunk into her lip, and my dick instantly strained against my pants. I couldn't help but imagine those lips wrapped around my dick. The thought of grabbing that ponytail while sinking my cock deep inside her from behind had my heart racing and all the blood rushing to the only thing that was thinking right now. All right, down boy.
Is that Greek?
My heart felt like it dropped in my chest. Yes, I'm impressed. She chuckled.
Don't be. When I was little and visiting family in Italy, we went to visit one of my father's best friends. Their last name was Drivas.
Huh, that's interesting. Could be a relative of mine.
You never know,
she said with a smile and a wink. Yep, I needed to get this girl under me, on top of me, anywhere the fuck on me. Holding up my plate, I said, Thank you for the panna cotta.
Sure. I hope you enjoy it.
I made my way over to a little table. The lady sitting one table over smiled and ran her tongue along her dark red lips. With a polite smile, I made sure to sit with my back facing her. Plus, that gave me a better view of Gabby. Glancing down at the panna cotta, I smiled when I saw the raspberry sauce on it. I popped the single berry into my mouth and let the flavor burst inside while I slid my spoon into the custard and took a bite. Holy fucking shit. I wanted to moan. Hell, I wanted to pick up the plate and devour the heavenly dessert in front of me. I'd never in my life tasted something so amazing. Closing my eyes, I let the taste linger. It was amazing.
If your mother saw you with that look on your face, you'd be dead right now.
My eyes snapped open. Cole? He sat down and placed his plate of tiramisu on the table.
You finally discovered my favorite bakery in Colorado Springs.
Anger raced through my body. You asshole. Why have you never told me about this place? We eat at Telly's all the time. He shrugged while he took a bite.
I only found it about 6 months back. And maybe because I've been trying to get the owner to go out with me for the last month. If you walked in, she'd be all over your Greek ass.
I laughed and took another bite. Well, if it makes you feel any better, she didn't go all crazy over me. Well, she did stumble on her words when I first walked up and talked. Cole rolled his eyes.
And there you go. She's probably been dreaming of you ever since. Tell me the other hot chick who works here hasn't seen you yet.
The young girl? I asked in shock. The first girl who originally helped me couldn't have been more than 19. Cole laughed.
No, not Liza. Her name is Charity, and fucking hell, she is gorgeous.
Glancing back over, I watched Gabby moving behind the counter. I can't imagine this other girl being as beautiful as Gabby.
Yeah, well, they're both knockouts.
I turned my attention back to Cole. I still can't believe you kept this from me. You know Italian food is my favorite.
That's blasphemy in the eyes of your mother. You know that, right?
Laughing, I stared down at my dessert. There was one more bite of panna cotta left. Maybe I should get a to-go box and bring it home. Savor it later while I thought about Gabby naked and waiting in my bed for me.
How are the desserts, gentlemen?
I glanced up and my stomach dropped at the sight before me. Cole and I both answered at the same time. Great.
Good as always,
Cole added. I glared at him while he ignored me and kept smiling up at Gabby.
So, you seem to know everyone today, Nick,
Gabby said with a chuckle.
Nick?
Cole asked as he shot me a dirty look.
We're on a first-name basis already, huh?
There was no way I couldn't hide my smirk. That's what the bastard got for keeping this place a secret from me. We work together, I replied. Cole here is on SWAT with me. I watched as Gabby turned and smiled at Cole. It wasn't the same smile she gave me earlier. It was a polite smile. One I figured she gave to all her customers. For some reason that made me feel good. Really good.
I didn't know you were a police officer. Well, thanks for telling Nick about the place, Cole.
Sure, of course. I tell everyone about— Ouch!
I kicked him under the table. He didn't tell me. He's been keeping it a secret. Gabby lifted a brow.
Why?
Would me telling you I've been sharing your bakery with my friends make a difference in you going out with me?
Nope, not at all.
Her response was quick and made me smile even more.
There you go. I kept Nick away simply for selfish reasons.
Cole jumped up.
As always, it was great, Gabby. I've got to run. Later, Drivas.
Cole took Gabby's hand and kissed the back of it.
Enjoy your day.
Taking a step back while withdrawing her hand, Gabby replied,
You too, Cole.
I was going to kick his ass the next time we were alone.
So, did you not like the panna cotta? You left some on your plate.
The thought of eating the last bite almost made me sad. Don't be crazy, I loved it. I was holding off on the last bite, trying to savor it. Cole was ruining the mood. She laughed, and it rumbled through my body again.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Scooping up the last bite, I put it in my mouth and moaned. Gabby's mouth opened slightly, and I swore her eyes turned dark with desire. I might have been jumping the gun, but I didn't care. There was something about that woman I needed to learn more about. She had an air of mystery surrounding her. I'd never been so drawn to anyone before in my entire life. Reaching down, she took my plate.
Best you've ever had?
If I say yes, will you let me take you to dinner sometime? Her eyes lit up and my chest squeezed in a delicious way.
No, but how about if you let me cook you dinner? That's if you like Italian food.
Holy fuck. Even better. Like it. I love it. Her smile grew wider as I handed her my card. Send me a text so I can get your number and we'll plan it. She nodded as I stood. Staring at her perfect lips, I added, Now, Gabby. Send me a text now so I know you're not blowing me off for Cole now that you know he's SWAT. The giggle that came from her mouth had my dick growing painfully hard again. Grabbing her phone from her back pocket, she typed in the number on the card, and 10 seconds later my phone beeped. Desire raced through my veins like I'd never experienced before. The possessive way I had told her to text me shocked me, but hadn't seemed to faze her at all. I bet she'd respond to a bossy lover in bed. I was dying to find out. A loose strand of her blonde hair dangled in front of her eye. Reaching my hand up, I ran it through my fingers before tucking it behind her ear. Her breath caught as I traced my finger along her jawline. When can I see you again? The need to feel this woman against me grew by the second. Her tongue darted out and ran over her lips quickly while she nibbled on it a few seconds. She was deciding on what to say next.
Are you free tonight? I have tomorrow off so I can stay up late.
My brows lifted and her cheeks immediately blushed.
That's not what I meant,
she said while pushing my shoulder back. The zip of energy from her touch made my knees weak.
I only meant I wouldn't have to be going to bed at 7.
Tell me what time and I'll be here. Please don't let me get called in tonight, please. Glancing at her phone, she peered back up at me.
7 too early?
The urge to lean down and kiss those perfectly plump lips was hard to ignore. 7's perfect. A sweet, shy smile played across her face.
Just ring the bell at the side of the bakery at the door. I'll buzz you up.
With a grin, I leaned down and kissed her cheek lightly as I whispered, See you then. The pounding of my heart in my ears was all I could hear as I retreated out of the bakery. Each breath was labored as I walked away. Gabby Mandela had just turned my life upside down. My head was spinning as I headed down the street to where I parked my truck. I rubbed my hand over my chest, trying to get rid of the feeling that had settled in there the moment she smiled at me and those blue eyes met my gaze. My brother Thano's words swirled around my head. The moment you meet her, Nick, you'll know. Your breath will catch, your chest tightens like a vice clamped down on it. But it's a feeling so good you want it to last forever. Your world will feel like it's been turned inside out. She'll affect you like no woman has ever done before, and you can't help but count down the minutes until you see her again. I didn't do relationships. I fucked. And boy, did I want to sink myself deep into Gabby and forget everything else in this shitty world. There was something very different about this woman, and I couldn't wait to figure out what it was. The vibration of my phone in my pocket pulled me from my dirty thoughts. Cole's name scrolled across it, and I instantly laughed at the beginning of his message. Cole, please tell me you didn't get a date with her, me. Dinner tonight at her place. Cole, I hate you, Greek bastard. Me. That's what you get for hiding that bakery from me, asshole. Cole. I hope your dick breaks out in some weird rash. Me. You still have hope with the other hot chick that works there. Cole. That's true. I still hope your dick breaks out in a rash. Laughing, I didn't respond as I got in my truck and started it up. Before pulling out, I glanced at the clock. 6 hours until I could see those beautiful eyes again.
Chapter 4. Gabby. The smell of basil filled the kitchen as I got out my great-grandmother's recipe for chicken parmigiana. I found myself singing Tied Up along with Olivia Newton-John and Charity. The song was blaring from her room. Her obsession with Olivia had caused me concern when we first moved in as roommates. After countless hours of hearing her songs, going to 2 concerts in Vegas, and repeated viewings of her movies, I was a bit of a fan myself. Nothing like Charity, though. "Why are you cooking dinner? I told you I had a date." Glancing over my shoulder to Charity, I replied, "I know, I'm making dinner for someone else." I turned before I could see her reaction. Charity was pretty much the only friend I had in Colorado Springs. Well, besides the ladies from Knitting Club and Max and Liza. She was next to me in a flash. "Really? Who?" "Just someone I met earlier down in the bakery. It's sort of a thank you dinner." He helped get rid of Miss Loft once and for all. Charity took a step back, held up her hands and said, "Wait, hold on. Back things up a bit here. First off, Miss Loft is gone? What happened?" "She freaked out on me, and I might have accidentally called her a name when I thought I was thinking it." Laughter roared from Charity. "It's about damn time!" "Funny, Max said the same thing." "No thanks to you, though. I wouldn't have thought it had you not had said it earlier in the car." "You can thank me later. Now tell me about this date." With a quick chuckle, I shook my head. "It's not a date. It's a thank you dinner." She leaned against the counter, folded her arms, and stared at me. When she quirked her eyebrow up, I knew I needed to be truthful not only with her, but with myself. "Okay, fine. It's a date." Charity grabbed my hands and began jumping. "Oh my gosh, this is the best news. Finally, your vibrator will get a break." I stopped jumping with her and pulled my hands back. "Hey!" Staring at me like I was the one who was insane, she tilted her head. "Since I've known you, Gabby, you've only gone out with one guy, and I'm pretty sure you were not getting any nookie from him." My mouth opened. But I couldn't argue with her. Jack was a nice guy, but we never hit it off. We went out a few times and that was it. He never even tried to kiss me. "It's just dinner. And really, Chair, nookie? What are we, 10? She bumped my shoulder. "Oh, I see it in your eyes. You want the nookie. Who is he?" The heat on my cheeks was hard to hide. "His name is Nick Drivas. He's a police officer." Peeking over to her, I added, "A SWAT officer." Her eyes widened. "Shut up. Was he in uniform?" Sinking my teeth into my lip, I couldn't help but think of Nick in that tight black t-shirt. It had been a long time since a man had made my body come to life like he had. Oh yes, he was in his uniform. Well, kind of, I guess. Everything was black, including the 2 sizes too small shirt he had on. Holy shit. You totally want Nookie. If he is SWAT, he has got a rocking body. I nodded. That's putting it lightly. He was all muscle. What did he look like? Oh my gosh, my roommate is finally replacing her bob with a real-life dick! I pushed her away. Stop it. I'm not looking to have sex. It's just dinner. Liar. It's written all over your face. Now answer me. What did he look like? Putting the knife I had been chopping the basil with down, I faced her. I couldn't help but smile when I thought about Nick. He's tall and built. Really built. She nodded. Right. I got that. He's got dark hair, almost black. some stubble on his face with the most beautiful hazel eyes and olive skin I've ever seen. Wiggling her eyebrows, she asked, "Italian?" I shook my head. "Nope, Greek." She stumbled back. "What? Like, full-on Greek?" Shrugging, I answered, "I'm not sure. He sure looked like it." Charity grabbed my shoulders. "You know what they say about Greek lovers, don't you?" I frowned. "Who is they?" "That doesn't matter. You know what they say?" Laughing, I tried to break free of her hold. "No, enlighten me, Chair." "Well, there is one thing they say, but I'll save that for later. Gabby, they are sex gods. Sex gods. Alphas in and out of bed. Slightly possessive of their women, which works for me and is hot as hell. And they can't keep their hands off their women. Always feeling them up." I stared at her with a dumbfounded expression. "Where do you come up with this stuff? Do I need to Google it for you?" "No, that's quite all right. I think I'll wait and get to know him before I label him in one of your groups." She let go of me. "Oh, it's not one of my groups. I'm telling you now. I know. I've had Greek cock before." "Oh my gosh, Charity," I exclaimed. "Really?" Lifting her eyes up to the sky, she seemed to be taken back to a moment in time that I knew I didn't want to hear about. "It was the best sex I've ever had in my life. I lost my virginity to that boy." I went back to chopping up the basil. Charity had no problem sharing every detail about her life with me. I, on the other hand, shared very little. The less lies I had to remember, the better. I told her my parents died when I was in high school and the rest of my family lived in Italy. Charity never really asked me anything about my childhood. Every now and then I would share something that I didn't think would hurt to share, but for the most part, my life was not an open book like hers. "What was his name?" I asked. She looked up and smiled. "It's kind of funny. His name was Nicholas, too." I dropped the knife and turned to her. My heart started pounding. "Don't look at me like that, Gabby. I went to high school in New York. Your Greek dick is not the same as mine." A sigh of relief washed over me before I snarled my lip at her. Charity laughed. "I'm pretty sure that's a common Greek name." "Yeah, I'm sure it is." Her eyes roamed over me as she took a step back. You're not wearing that, are you?" I looked down at my clothes. I had on sweats and a cropped black t-shirt. "No, I'm going to change." "What are you wearing?" Well, it might be a little smutty." She laughed. "Is it the black dress we bought a few weeks back?" "You mean the black dress that you forced me to buy?" "Yes." "Holy shit. Who are you and what did you do with my best friend? Inviting a guy to dinner, cooking for him, and dressing like a whore?" I wasn't surprised Charity was shocked by my actions. I was as well. But it was time for me to move on with my life. My cheeks heated as I let out a giggle. "I don't know. It's like my libido is in charge. Besides, it's been a while since I've dated." She nodded. She's tired of plastic. She wants real dick. Greek dick. I rolled my eyes. "Why are we friends?" "Because I speak the truth. Look at me and tell me you don't want some Greek dick." Laughing, I grabbed the fresh pasta I had made earlier. "Don't you have a date to get ready for?" "Yep. As a matter of fact, I do, and this girl is hoping to get her own dick tonight." Ugh. Seriously? Keep your dick thoughts to yourself. When does he do? I'd fix your hair, but Scott's expecting me at 7. The buzzer for the front door went off. Charity and I both looked at each other. "Please tell me your date is picking you up." She shook her head and smiled wide. "Nope." Oh, crap. Chapter 5. Gabby. I started wringing my hands together nervously. "What time did you tell him to be here?" 7. It can't be him. It's just after 6. The buzzer went off again. We both rushed over to the intercom, pushing and shoving each other out of the way to try to get to it first. "Did you tell him 6 or 7?
Pushing her as hard as I could, Charity jumped to avoid the chaise lounge and fell. I said 7, I'm positive. I pressed the button and took a deep breath and cried out, Hello?
Gabby, is everything okay?
I jumped back and covered my mouth. Whirling around, I looked at Charity, who was now sitting in the chair wearing an I told you so expression. Are you going to answer him, Gabby? Right. I quickly hit the button again. Yes, this is Gabby. Everything is fine. I stubbed my toe. Nick?
Yeah, it's Nick. I hope you don't mind me getting here early. I couldn't wait to see you again.
My hand dropped to my side as Charity walked over to me and whispered, Oh, hell! He wants Nookie too! Greek dick meet Italian pussy. Shut up, I said while I pushed her away from me. Lifting her hand, she called out, I'll be in my room with Liv. Turning back to the intercom, I pressed it again. Sorry, my roommate was talking to me. Come on up, I'll buzz you in. I stood there like an idiot as I stared at the door. There was no time to change my clothes or touch up my makeup. Shit. The knock on the door caused me to jump. Taking in a deep breath, I walked over and opened it. Clearly, I was not prepared for the sight before me because I gasped. If you looked up Greek god in the dictionary, there would be a picture of Nick Drivas next to it. My eyes leisurely roamed his body. He wore jeans, cowboy boots, and a tight, long-sleeved black shirt. He was holding a bottle of wine in one hand and flowers in the other. I didn't even care. I was ogling him. Oh yes, I want to have Nookie with this man. Sup? Oh gosh, did I really just say that? Nick's gaze moved over my body slowly. The air between us instantly charged, and I was suddenly wondering if I had shaved my legs. Please let me have shaved my legs. There was no time to shower now.
Damn, you look hot.
I glanced down. Huh? Jerking my head back up, I replied, I'm wearing sweats and a t-shirt. He was staring at the only skin I had exposed, my stomach.
You make sweats and a t-shirt look hot as hell, Gabby.
I let out a giggle. Well, I'll change in a bit. These are my cooking clothes. Nick lifted a brow and asked,
May I come in?
Yes, gosh, sorry about that. A slow smile grew over his face. His stubble had grown even more from earlier today, making his dimples harder to see. My eyes glanced down to the wine.
I hope you like Shiraz.
I love it. Do you mind if I open it now, or do you want to wait until dinner?
I'm game for having a glass now. What's for dinner?
Smiling, I replied, chicken parmigiana. Nick closed his eyes and groaned.
Damn, that's one of my favorites.
Swallowing hard, I tried not to think about how I wanted to push him onto the sofa and crawl all over him. Ugh, stop it, Gabby. Want to help? I asked as I walked into the kitchen. Nick followed me and replied,
I'd love to help.
Glancing over my shoulder, I asked, How good are you in a kitchen? He chuckled and reached for one of my aprons that was hung up. I couldn't help my smile when I saw the apron he had put on as I read it. Caution, hot stuff coming through.
You'd be amazed at the things I can do with these hands.
Digging my nails into my palms, I fought to keep the groan from leaving my lips. Oh, I can only imagine what you could do with those big, strong hands. Swallowing hard, I tried to ignore the throbbing between my legs.
Basil. I love basil.
Smiling, I said, Good, it's from my own herb garden.
Nice.
Do you want to pound the meat? The moment I said it, I knew I had made a faux pas. Nick's eyes widened in shock, and his smile looked a tad on the evil side.
Wow, you're moving faster than I thought. I'd love to pound your meat, Gabby.
He moved closer to me, and I held my breath. The way he stalked up on me had my stomach in a fluttering mess. My heartbeat was so loud in my ears I could hardly think. When I hit the island, he turned and picked up the package of chicken breasts behind me.
Do you have a meat mallet I can use for these?
I looked at the chicken and smiled. Bastard.
Reaching into the drawer, I pulled it out and handed it to him. Pound away. His eyes turned dark and his voice dropped to a whisper.
Is that an invitation, Gabby?
To pound her meat? Yes, that was. We both spun around to see Charity standing there with a shit-eating grin on her face. Don't you have a date you need to be getting ready for? I asked as I shot her a dirty look. Nick laughed and stuck his hand out toward her.
Nick Drivas. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Charity Maxwell. Nice to meet you too, Nick. When he turned around and started on the chicken, Charity looked at me, eyes wide open with her mouth slightly ajar. She shook her head and mouthed, "Holy shit." I motioned for her to go away. She acted like she was grabbing him and began air humping. Shooting her a dirty look, I mouthed, "Stop it." "So, Nick, Gabby tells me you're a cop." Handing him a plastic bag for the chicken, he smiled at me.
Thanks. And yes, I am.
Charity reached into the refrigerator and took out a Diet Coke. "What made you want to be a cop?" I glared at my best friend. She needed to leave. Now. We were in the middle of some seriously hot flirting and she is throwing cold water on it.
When I was 17, my best friend got caught up in the wrong crowd.
That was eerily familiar.
He ended up getting involved in drugs and some pretty bad stuff. One day this punk guy walked up to him, pulled a gun and shot him. I chased the guy down while my other friend called the police. From that moment on, I knew what I wanted to do with my life.
Charity was the first to talk. "I'm so sorry you had to witness such a horrible thing. I can't imagine seeing someone killed right before my eyes." My hands shook as I was instantly taken back 6 years in time. Blood was everywhere. On my hands, the walls, the loud bang caused me to scream and jump back. Warm hands touched my arms, calmly pulling me from the nightmare I had been sucked into.
"Hey, are you okay? Gabby."
Nick's voice pulled me out. My eyes found his and a warmth spread through my chest. "Yes, I'm fine. I'm so sorry about your friend." Nick smiled, then searched my face.
"Are you sure you're okay?"
Forcing a smile, I nodded. Nick still had a hold of my arms and a part of me wanted him to pull me in closer. It threw me for a loop how I felt safe with this man. I glanced down to where he had a hold of me, and Nick quickly dropped his hands. I instantly missed his touch. "Loud bangs always scare her." Charity took a drink and added, "She's a basket case anytime fireworks go off." Nick looked into my eyes again, almost as if he was searching for his own answers. I cleared my throat and headed to the refrigerator to get the cheese out. "Again, don't you have a date you need to get ready for?" Charity laughed. "I do! Nick, it was a pleasure meeting you. Have fun with that meat." Nick chuckled.
"It was nice meeting you as well."
Pointing to me, Charity said, "Have fun, but don't get wild. We both know how long it's been." My jaw dropped as I stared at her in disbelief. She disappeared, and I wanted to crawl into a hole. Warm breath tickled my ear.
"I like her. She's fun."
Jumping, I turned and came face to face with Nick. My eyes drifted to his lips before I swung them back up. "She's a pain in the ass." Tossing his head back and laughing, Nick went back to work on the chicken while I sliced the mozzarella cheese for the top of the chicken breast. We quickly fell into an easy conversation about, of all things, food. "So, you grew up cooking?" I asked, while I mixed the flour, pepper, salt, and Parmesan cheese into the breadcrumbs for the breading.
"I did. Mostly all Greek cooking. My mother was big on my brothers and I learning to cook. What about you?"
I tensed up. How much should I share? The last thing I wanted to do was have a cop snooping in my past. But the connection I felt with Nick was different than anything I'd ever felt before with anyone. I quickly decided I wanted to share more than I normally would.
I remember being little and watching my grandmother cooking. She didn't speak a word of English, only Italian. I couldn't have been maybe 5 at the time. I'd pull up a stool and stand there watching her throw this and that into a pot. She never measured a thing when she cooked. I asked her once if she would write down her favorite recipes for me. She asked me why I wanted her to write them down. Nick was totally enthralled with my story, which made my chest flutter.
"What did you say?" he asked.
I laughed and looked away. I told her I needed to learn how to cook for my husband. She made me promise I'd marry a good Italian boy. Turning back to Nick, I watched as he raised his brows.
"Did you promise her that?"
I shook my head. No. At the time, I was madly in love with Jerry Knox, my first unofficial boyfriend from kindergarten. Nick chuckled.
"Knox doesn't sound Italian."
No, he was not Italian. My grandmother simply laughed. I looked down at my hands. She passed away 6 months later. When I graduated high school, my father gave me a box filled with recipes. She had done what I asked and written down her favorite recipes. I've treasured that box ever since. Nick placed his finger on my chin and lifted it.
"You were lucky to have known her. And even luckier she shared her love of cooking with you."
I fought the tears in my eyes. I never spoke of home or memories. It was too painful. The way Nick was gazing into my eyes scared me and thrilled me all at once.
"I want to kiss you, Gabby. I've wanted to since the moment you smiled at me."
My breath caught. I realized I desperately wanted the same thing he wanted. The spark I felt in my chest was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. Suddenly, everything else faded into the background, and all that mattered was this man standing before me. He leaned in closer. We were inches away from each other. My heart picked up its rhythm in my chest. I was sure it would burst out any second.
"May I kiss you?"
My mouth parted, giving him the silent invite he was looking for. He stopped just short of my mouth, waiting for me to give him permission. I was frozen and completely unable to speak. The air around us was charged like I'd never experienced before. I said the only thing I could manage to say. His name off my lips sounded like a whisper on a breeze. Nick. The moment his lips touched mine, I felt the spark. Beautiful, intense, magical. It was the only way I could describe the feeling of Nick kissing me. Softly and gently he moved. When his tongue asked for permission, I granted it to him without hesitation. The kiss deepened, and Nick pulled my body against his. An explosive fire ripped through my body. All I could do was moan. Nick's hand moved around my waist, pulling me to him so I could feel how much the kiss was affecting him as well. Then it happened. Music came blaring from Charity's room. She did not. Nick pulled back and looked at me with his brows pinched together.
"What in the hell is she playing?"
I rolled my eyes. Olivia Newton-John. The song's called Magic. The corners of Nick's mouth rose into a beautiful smile that had my knees shaking.
"I'd say she hit that spot on."
Matching his smile, I giggled. I'd say. Nick took a step back as his eyes gazed into mine. His smile slowly faded. The confusion in his eyes was hard to miss. I was pretty positive I had the same look in mine.
Chapter 6. Nick. What in the hell was that? Staring into those beautiful blue eyes, I couldn't figure out what was happening. My heart was on the damn floor the moment she moaned into my mouth. Then she opened up to me, and I was overcome with a euphoria I'd never experienced before. Your world will feel like it's been turned inside out. Fuck that. There is no way. I needed to break this weird connection we were sharing. I was in uncharted territory and not sure how I felt about it. I turned back to the food. Are we frying or baking the chicken? Gabby stood there for a second, her forehead creased in confusion. We just shared the most incredible kiss of my life, and I totally blew it off.
I baked mine. Healthier and all.
That sounds perfect.
She moved to open a cabinet where she pulled out a baking sheet. Just put them on here after you coat them in the breading.
Somehow I needed to get things back on track and easy like a few minutes ago. We were talking as if we'd known each other for years, then I fucked it up with kissing her. Damn if I didn't need to feel those lips. Taste her. Have you always wanted to own a bakery? Her face lit up. There we go. My dick move forgotten.
Yes, for as long as I can remember.
What do your parents do? She tensed. That was twice now she reacted that way when I asked about her past.
They passed away when I was in high school.
I frowned. You said your dad gave you your grandmother's recipes at your graduation. A panicked expression moved over her face.
They passed away in a car accident a few days after I graduated.
I'm so sorry, Gabby. She shrugged.
Thank you.
Did they own a bakery? She shook her head.
No, they owned a restaurant in Italy that my uncle owns now.
I lifted my brow. Really? Wow. Were you born in Italy? Gabby chewed on her lip. Talking about her family seemed to be a sore subject.
No,
she said with a chuckle.
My parents moved to America after they got married. They had the restaurant before they moved.
I couldn't help but notice she failed to mention where she grew up. Although the cop in me could tell she was hiding something, I let it go. I've always wanted to go to Italy. Again, her face beamed with happiness.
It's beautiful there.
How many times have you been?
Dozens,
she said with a light laugh.
We have a lot of distant family still in Italy. I haven't been in about 7 years, though. I was actually planning a trip to go in a few months, if everything works out.
I lifted my brows. What did that mean? Really? Sounds like fun. Her smile slowly drifted away.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm off,
Charity called out as she walked by the kitchen.
You two kids have fun, and just as an FYI, I won't be home tonight.
What? Gabby gasped.
You're staying the night with him?
Charity tilted her head and smirked.
Aw, that's kind of cute that you're concerned. Yes, I haven't had sex in weeks and plan on getting a lot of it tonight.
Spinning on her high heel, Charity was out the door before Gabby could respond. She turned to me.
I swear she's not a slut. She's been dating this guy for a few weeks now.
I laughed and held up my hands. None of my business. If things don't work out for her and this guy, you should introduce her to Cole. Gabby chuckled.
Cole tried once with Charity. She shut him down so hard I actually felt sorry for him. He wouldn't stand a chance with her.
You don't know Cole. Her smile grew.
You don't know Charity. Besides, she likes Cole.
And that's a bad thing?
I think it scares her how much she was attracted to him. But you can tell Cole's a player.
What about Charity? Gabby laughed.
No. Scott's the first guy she has dated in a few years. She's not one to sleep around.
She seems like a pistol. And Olivia Newton-John? Wasn't she in Greece? Gabby shuddered.
Yes. I know every one of her songs by heart after 4 years of living with Charity. I've seen Xanadu I don't know how many times.
My brow lifted in question.
It's a movie she did, after Grease.
I've never watched Grease. Gabby dropped the spoon and turned to me with a look of horror on her face.
Don't ever tell Charity that. You'll be watching it within 5 minutes of the words leaving your mouth, and no potty breaks.
Damn, this girl was adorable. No potty breaks, huh? She shook her head.
It was pure hell. I had drank a lot of water that day, too.
She shuddered as if the memory had hit her again. I had the urge to pull her into my arms again, but I fought it.
How are you at chopping veggies for a salad?
She asked with a wink. Bring it on. I'm the master at chopping shit. Gabby soon had everything you could possibly think of that would go in a salad in front of me.
I bet next time you won't show up early,
she said with a chuckle. The fact that she was already planning a next time had my chest feeling light. She must have realized what she said.
I mean, that's if you enjoy my cooking and want to come back.
I chopped the cucumbers and put them into the large salad bowl. Don't you mean our cooking? Since I'm helping and all? Her nose scrunched up in the cutest way, and my heart stopped. Like, honest to God, it felt as if it froze. She winked.
It's my recipe, though.
Touché. But I did pound the meat. Her tongue ran over her lips, and the dark blue specks in her eyes lit up like sparklers on the 4th of July.
I guess we'll have to see how it tastes for me to decide if you're good at that or not.
Fuck this. If she was going to flirt, then so was I. I know another way you can find out. Her mouth formed the perfect O. while her breathing picked up. I'm going to guess Charity was spot on when she said it had been a while for Gabby.
Sounds promising,
she shot back. The alarm went off on her phone. Without taking her eyes from mine, she spoke.
Would you put the cheese on the chicken and stick them back into the oven? I'll put the pasta in, and then run and change.
Lifting my hand, I tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You go get changed. I'll take care of the rest and get the salad put together.
Are you sure? The pasta needs to be put in the water.
There was something about Gabby that was so different from any other woman I'd ever been with. I wasn't sure if it was her smile, the way her eyes lit up when I said something funny, or sexual, or the way she made my heart feel like it was floating hopelessly in my chest. Whatever it was, I wanted more of it. A whole hell of a lot more. I'm positive. Even though I think you look great now.
I'm not wearing sweats while you look all dashing and handsome.
You think I'm handsome, huh? A hint of pink moved across her cheeks.
Give me 10 minutes.
I nodded as I watched her walk away. Fucking hell, she had a nice ass. I wanted my hand slapping at pink while I took her from behind. The bedroom door shutting brought me back to reality. Turning, I got to work on taking the chicken out, placing the slices of cheese Gabby had ready on top, and then putting them back in the oven. The pasta went into the boiling water, and the last of the vegetables were added to the salad. The smell of Gabby's perfume still lingered in the air. Inhaling, I shook my head and chuckled. I never would have imagined I'd enjoy being in a kitchen and cooking with a woman. One quick survey of Gabby's kitchen, and I walked over to where I thought she'd keep her dishes. I couldn't help the smile that spread over my face when I opened it and saw the plates. Grabbing 2 dinner plates and 2 bowls for salad, I set about getting the table ready. The timer went off for the chicken. Taking it out of the oven, I set it off to the side while I drained the pasta and mixed it with Gabby's homemade marinara sauce. The smell of garlic and Italian spices filled my senses and made my stomach growl. One quick taste, and I was letting out a satisfying moan. The moment I tasted the pasta, it exploded on my tongue. Holy shit, that's good. I could totally get used to this woman's cooking. I set off looking for one more thing. Gabby, do you have any candles? I called out.
The drawer to the left of the sink. There are some candles, and the holders are in the cabinet underneath.
Finding what I was looking for, I added the candles to the table and finished it off with the flowers I brought.
Sorry that took longer than I said. Wow, I'd say you've done this a time or 2.
I spun around and nearly dropped to the damn floor. My God, I whispered while my eyes roamed over the beautiful sight before me.
Too much?
Gabby asked with a shy smile. All I could do was shake my head. She wore a black dress that hugged her body in all the right ways. It showed a hint of her breasts, enough to leave me imagining what else was under the dress. And her legs. Holy hell, those long, toned legs were perfect. The red fuck-me shoes finished the whole outfit. Gabby had pulled her hair up and into a sloppy yet sexy as hell bun. My chest squeezed, and I found it hard to breathe. If I thought I wanted Gabby before, now I was fighting a goddamn hard-on as well as trying to figure out how to breathe.
Looks like you've got everything ready. You sit, and I'll get the food to the table.
I watched her walk by, and all I could think about were those legs wrapped around my body with me buried deep inside her. Nothing but the red shoes on while I pounded into her over and over again. Jesus, get a grip, Trevis. Gabby placed 2 platters down on the middle of the table, pulling me from my daydream. The pasta and sauce was on one and the chicken parmigiana was on the other. The large bowl of salad appeared last. Gabby sat down across from me.
Dig in,
she said with a huge grin. After taking another bite, I moaned and nodded my head. This is good. So damn good. She chuckled.
I'm glad you like it.
So, how was the rest of your day today? Her eyes lit up.
Well, I played around in the kitchen downstairs with a recipe I'm trying to perfect.
I smiled. You could see the excitement in her eyes. What are you trying to do? Her face turned scarlet.
Make macarons.
My brows lifted. Macarons? Those little colored cakes? They look easy to make. She laughed.
Yes, those little colored cakes. They're not as easy as you would think. To get a smooth and shiny shell takes practice, and honestly, I suck at it.
Taking another bite, I winked. I say screw the macarons and give me more of this dish right here. A smile danced on her lips as she said,
Thank you, Nick.
Before I knew it, dinner was over. Gabby pointed to my wine glass.
Do you not like the wine? Gabby asked.
On call tonight, so I'm going easy on it. She simply nodded, then stood.
I should get this cleaned up.
The chair almost knocked backward when I jumped up. Let me help. Gabby smiled, and we quickly got everything cleaned up and the leftovers put in a to-go container for me.
I can put some music on and we can finish this wine on the balcony if you'd like.
With a nod, I followed her into the living room. My dick was throbbing as I watched her lean over while picking out something to listen to. Fucking hell, that ass was perfect. And her tits were begging to be kissed and sucked on.
Anything in particular you'd like?
There was no way I could stop myself any longer. Walking over to her, I placed my hands on her hips, causing her to jump. There is something I'd like, now that you mention it. Gabby spun around and looked up at me. She searched my face until our gaze locked. I could get lost in those eyes for hours on end.
Nick, I'm not the type of girl who falls into bed with a guy I hardly know. I need you to know that.
Lifting my hand, I twirled a piece of her hair with my finger. I'm not asking to sleep with you, Gabby. She quirked her brow up. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to fuck you. But I'm a patient man.
Nice,
she said with a smirk. What I'd really love is for you to fall apart on my fingers. Will you let me make you come, Gabby?
Oh my,
she whispered as she grabbed onto my upper arms. Leaning in closer, I licked my lips.
Nick,
she gasped as I pulled her closer to me.
I don't know.
Tell me you'll let me touch you, Gabby. I want so badly to touch you. Her mouth parted slightly as I ran my finger along her collarbone and straight down her chest and through her cleavage. Gabby gasped and held on to my arms tighter. You're so damn beautiful. Do you know that? Her eyes closed as I moved my hand and cupped her breast through her dress. It took every ounce of strength not to rip the damn thing off and bury my face between those perfect tits. Backing her against the wall, I slowly moved my hand down and under her short black dress. Her body shuddered, and I couldn't help but catch my own breath. Her skin felt like silk. I lifted her dress and felt her body tense. Do you want me to stop, Principessa? As fast as her body tensed, it relaxed. Her eyes caught fire, and I was positive if I went further she'd let me. But I wanted to move slow with her, honor, and give her the respect she deserved. Well, I had my goddamn hand up her dress. Maybe I wasn't being so respectful. And in that moment, I didn't give two shits. My lips moved to her neck where I placed soft kisses and repeated my question. Do you want me to stop?
What did you call me?
She gasped between breaths. Smiling, I spoke against her ear. Principessa. It means princess.
Oh, you're good.
With a slight chuckle, I trailed my hand up further, brushing my fingers against the lace fabric of her panties. Slow. Go slow. Inhaling a breath, Gabby pushed her hips out, silently begging for more. I fought the urge to rip her panties off. With slow movements, I slid my hand barely inside, the hint of hair leading me to the prize I was after. Beep, beep, beep. My heart dropped as I said, You've got to be fucking kidding me.
Chapter 7. Gabby. My breath was labored as I pushed my hips into Nick's touch. I felt like a slut, silently begging this man I had only met hours earlier to touch me. I'd never needed to orgasm as bad as I did right then. His touch drove me insane. Wildly insane. Then his pager went off, and it felt as though a gallon of cold water had been poured over us. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Nick rested his forehead against mine as I desperately tried to catch my breath. He pulled his hand out and rested it against the wall next to my head. So close. I was so close to having a real orgasm. Okay, I've had real ones with Bob, but one with an actual man present would be nice. I'm so sorry, Gabby. Damn it. I'm so sorry I'm leaving you hanging. Do you want me to finish? Yes, I want you to finish. No, it's totally okay. His eyes turned dark. It's not okay. I swallowed hard. He leaned in and kissed me. When he pulled back, his eyes were filled with nothing but lust. Don't make yourself come. Excuse me? Stepping back, Nick pulled out his beeper and looked at it.
then looked back at me. I don't want you to touch yourself. The next time you come will be because I'm the one who makes you fall apart into a million pieces. My eyes widened in shock, and I couldn't help but laugh. Nick stared at me with a deadpan expression. Holy shit, he's serious. Wait, are you serious? Pulling me against him, I felt his hard dick pressed to my stomach. I found myself loving the alpha vibe he put off. That was something I'd never experienced before, and I wanted more. The idea of waiting for him to finish what he started shot my libido even higher up. Gulping, I whispered, I promise I won't. He smiled and my knees went weak. That's my girl. My girl? My lower stomach pulled with desire at his possessive tone. When he released me, my head was spinning and my heart raced. I've got to go. Tomorrow I have off. Are you free? My stomach dipped at the idea of spending time with Nick. I am. I have the day off tomorrow. He leaned in and gently kissed me on the lips. It was so tender, I swear my heart melted. Thank you for dinner, Agape Manny. It was amazing. There was that other word again. You're welcome, Nick. And just like that, he was gone from my space. He made his way into the kitchen, grabbed the leftovers, and walked to the door. My fingers traced along my lips where they still tingled. When I heard the door open, I faced him and called out, Be safe. He stopped, glanced over his shoulder, and smiled. Oh, Lord, did the earth just move? With a wink, he replied, Always. The door shut, and I stumbled back against the wall. My hand clutched to my chest as I tried to steady my heart and scattered thoughts. It was hard ignoring the throbbing in my lady bits, but I forced it out. I'd wait for him. As much as I wanted to come, I actually wanted Nick to be the one to fulfill that longing. From the tease I just got, I was positive I'd be in blissful euphoria. My hands came to the sides of my face. Shaking my head, I asked, What in the hell just happened? Gabby? With a quick glance over my shoulder, I called out, I'm out on the balcony. Charity stepped out onto the balcony as I flashed her a grin. Did you get lucky? Yes, but he sucked in bed. Laughing, I asked, Why? What happened? She groaned and flopped onto the seat. It's what didn't happen. He was such a wham-bam, thank-you-ma'am kind of guy. No foreplay, no touching, no sucking of any kind. That sucks. Huh, yeah. I'm glad I charged my vibrator. I didn't even get an orgasm out of it. Wrapping my hands around my mug, I took a sip of tea. I take it, no more dates with Scott? Her head dropped back and she let out a long, frustrated moan. Ugh. I've tried so hard to like the guy. He has a 0 fun level. Not spontaneous at all. Not a good lover. It's all wrong. Damn it. Why can't I find a guy who likes to have fun and fucks good? Never one to mince words, were you? Spinning in the chair, she pulled her legs up and rested her chin on her knees. Speaking of fucking, did y'all? My lip curled. Gosh, Charity. What? I like to get to the point. You should know that about me by now. For your information, all we did was kiss. Her head jerked back. Say what? That Greek god didn't try to make a move on you? Oh, he did. Then his pager went off. Her eyes about popped out of her head. No! I nodded. Yes. How close did y'all get? Heat moved over my cheeks. Well, he had his hands under my dress, right inside my panties. Charity closed her eyes and slowly shook her head. That blows. With a light chuckle, I replied, Yeah, it does. Well, looks like we're both having to hit Bob after these dates. I took another sip of my tea and looked away. From the corner of my eye, I saw Charity leaning out to look at me. What? Did you have phone sex when he was on call or something? Turning, I hit her on the leg. Of course not. He made me promise him something.
Her mouth dropped open and her eyes danced with excitement. "Tell me!" My hand covered my face as I slid down in the chair. "Ugh, I can't." "Oh my God, what did you promise him?" Then she gasped. "He told you not to get off without him, didn't he?" "How did you know?" I asked while sitting back up and staring at her. "I told you, I've been with a Greek guy. They are possessive as fuck, but in a hot way. That would drive me even more insane, and I'm pretty sure old Nick knows that." Rolling my eyes, I set my mug down on the small metal table. "Chair, I'm going insane. I've never in my life been this turned on, and it's growing by the hour. No, by the second. My mind keeps wandering back to last night, to his touch and his insanely good kisses. I feel like I'm going to explode. This has never happened to me before. It's like my libido has taken control of my mind and body." Charity stared at me for a good 30 seconds with a serious look on her face, then lost it laughing. I swatted at her. "I shouldn't have told you." Her hands waved about in an attempt to stop herself from laughing. I'm sorry. It's just I've never seen you this way before. You're horny as hell, and that man knows exactly what he is doing." My brow lifted. "What do you mean?" "Gabby, he knew you were worked up. He also knows by telling you not to give yourself relief, you're going to fall apart the moment he touches you. It will get him off even more. If either of you can resist full-on sex the next time you're together, I'll sign up for another year of knitting club." "Really?" I asked with a chuckle. "Yes, because I'm positive you're going to have Nookie next time you see him." My arms wrapped around my body. I feel like such a slut. She dropped back in her chair again. "What? Why in the hell would you say that?" "Because I've just met the guy and all I can think about is having sex with him. What does that say about me?" With a wiggle of her brows, Charity answered me. "That you're normal. Gabby, it's okay to be turned on by a man. By his touch. Besides, I bet that scruff would feel good between your thighs." Jumping up, I cried out her name. "Charity, stop! Ugh, you're such a slut." Tears were now sliding down her face. She didn't even attempt to stop laughing. My phone buzzed and I let out a yelp. Charity was up and wiping her face. "Is it him? Is it?" I pushed her hands away as I fought to get my phone in my pocket. Nick's name lit up the screen. "Oh my God, it's him." "Answer it, Gabby!" With shaking hands, I slid my finger across my phone. Charity and I stood perfectly still. When she bumped my arm, I remembered to breathe. "And talk." "Hello?" Ugh, I sounded too eager.
"Hey, Gabby. Did I wake you?"
I laughed. "No, I've been up since 5. That's sleeping in for me."
"Aw, the whole bakery getting up at the crack of dawn thing."
Smiling, I felt my body warming. Just the sound of Nick's voice did things to me. Something like that. Charity was trying desperately to put her ear to mine to listen in. Pushing her, I walked into the living room.
"So, how do you feel about a hike?"
"In the mountains?" Nick laughed.
"Yeah."
My heart about leapt from my chest with excitement. I've never been before. His silence on the other line scared me.
"Are you serious? You never been hiking or up in the mountains?"
"Both."
"Well, this makes me rethink my plans for where I wanted to go. Do you have good shoes you can hike in?"
Smiling, I spun around and looked at Charity. "Yes! Charity actually made me buy some hiking boots a few months ago. We had planned on taking a trip up to Pikes Peak, but she keeps backing out on me."
"Well, put them on, girl. I've got a day planned for us."
I could hear the smile in his voice. "Should I meet you somewhere?"
"No. I'll pick you up in an hour."
My eyes widened in shock. "An hour?
Is that too soon?"
Not wanting Nick to think I was high maintenance, I chuckled but wore a look of horror on my face. "No, that's plenty of time." Charity clutched her chest, then took off running to her room.
Great. See you then, Agape Mani. Butterflies galore took off in my stomach. I'd never had a man call me sweet names before, so when Nick called me one and said it in Greek, it pretty much made me weak in the knees. "'Kay, see you then." The moment I hit end, Charity was yelling for me to come to her room. "We are at emergency level 1. From what I got, we have hiking and mountains. Anything else?" I stared at her with a deer caught in the headlights look on my face. No, that's all he mentioned." She tapped her chin. "Okay, I can work with this. Hair, clothes, makeup, and keep it natural." I nodded. "Sounds good." The clap of her hands scared me. "We need music." Spinning, she rushed over to her iPod and searched frantically. A huge smile spread over her face. "This one, it's perfect." When the song started, I groaned. "Seriously, Chair? That song? Why that song when I'm going hiking?" Her hands went to her hips. "It's the words, Gabby. It's perfect." Olivia Newton-John started belting out the lyrics to her song, Landslide. It was true, though. It felt like I was riding a landslide, and I had to confess, the last 24 hours was the most fun I'd had in years.
Chapter 8. Nick. After hitting end, I stared out the large set of windows in my bedroom that looked out at the mountains. God damn that voice of hers. What was it about this girl that had my mind spinning and my chest feeling like I was on a freaking roller coaster? I wasn't sure what in the hell was going on with me. All I knew was I couldn't wait to see Gabby again. After 4 hours in a standoff with a drugged-up nutcase last night, I drove by her place at almost 3 in the morning. Tempted to call her, but knowing how crazy that would make me, I couldn't stop thinking about that kiss, or the way her body shuddered when I touched her. I loved how responsive she was to my touch. I couldn't wait to pick up where I left off last night. Fuck, I've never in my life longed to see a girl again after a date. Hell, I didn't even do dates. There was something different about Gabby Mandela. Something very different. Pulling my jeans on, I got to planning out the day with Gabby. First stop, Woodland Park. I couldn't wait to show Gabby my favorite hiking trails. My doorbell rang, and I froze. Shit. Maybe if I stood here and was really quiet. It rang again, and then my phone went off. "Mama, your truck is here. Wake up." Groaning, I sliced my fingers through my hair and headed to the door. Opening it, my mother pushed in.
"First you don't come to the family dinner the other night, then you don't answer your phone yesterday or last night."
"I was working, Mama."
That job of yours, it scares me and keeps you from the family."
Pulling the t-shirt over my head, I replied, "I love my job."
"What you need is to not love that and find you a nice Greek girl to settle down with and love."
My heart seized. Surely if my mother accepted Kylan into the family, she would Gabby. Wait, what am I even saying? No, relationships are not my thing. But if I dated an Italian girl, how would my mother feel? All hell broke loose when my youngest brother Thano fell in love with Kylan, an Irish girl.
"I brought you some moussaka. I'll put it in the refrigerator for later."
"How's Pa?" With a grunt, my mother answered,
"Grumpy. He wants to go on a trip. See the world, he says."
"That sounds like a great idea. Why don't you?" She turned and glared at me.
"I have a feeling there is something about to happen. Something big."
I swallowed the lump in my throat. Really? Like what? With her eyes narrowed at me, I took a step back.
"I think Kylan is pregnant. That girl is so damn stubborn. It's the Irish in her. But I see the glow on her face."
I breathed a sigh of relief and laughed at myself. It wasn't like my mother was a psychic. There was no way she'd know about Gabby.
"What is this?"
Jerking my head up, I saw her holding the Tupperware container that Gabby made for me. Food. Her head slowly turned to the side.
"I know it's food. It's homemade food, and not in one of your containers. Who made it for you?"
Holy shit, my mother knew the type of food containers I owned? That was almost borderline crazy. No, it was crazy. A friend. Her lips pursed as she casually nodded her head.
"This is Italian food, Nicholas. You missed family dinner for Italian food made by a friend?"
"No, Mama. I missed family dinner because I was working." She glanced up.
That's right. Oliver said you were delivering some warrant or something dangerous.
Moaning, I blew out a frustrated breath. You cannot keep calling my sergeant when I miss family night. I'm a grown man, and I can like other food besides Greek.
Who is she?
Her hands went to her chest as if I had mortally wounded her. What?
The girl who cooks you this food.
What makes you think it's a girl, Mama?
It isn't?
I was at a crossroads. Did I lie to my mother or tell her the truth? Liam's wife made it and had leftovers. That's all. A look of relief swept over her face. Shit. I'm going to hell. I had never lied to my mother. Okay, that's a lie. Opening the lid, she smelled it.
Ugh, too much basil, my goodness. Poor girl needs to go to cooking school. Italians, I swear.
I watched as she opened my garbage and banged the dish on the side, sending my heavenly delight into the trash. Stumbling back, I asked, "Why would you throw perfectly good food away?" Holding up the moussaka, she grinned.
This is good food. That was nonsense. Make sure you eat this today. Now, your brother Thaddeus and Phoebe are planning a baby shower. The whole family will be there. A week from tomorrow. I have the perfect girl I want you to meet.
Mama, please don't set me up with anyone. She held up her hand.
Shh. You are 30 years old, Nicholas. Your sperm is growing weaker by the day.
My mouth dropped open. What had I done in my life to deserve this?
Aunt Maria's niece from Greece will be there. Her name is Aphrodite. You know what that name means in Greek?
Rolling my eyes, I nodded. Mama, I've met her a dozen times, and yes, it means Greek goddess of love.
Equal to the Roman goddess Venus.
Why was she bringing that up?
She is probably a good lover, unless you have tested those waters with her. I know you like your women, Nicholas.
My hands raked down my face. Mama, why do you go there?
Don't be ashamed of your sexuality. Greek men are very proud of that. Take your father, for instance.
I held up my hands. No, let's not talk about what a great lover my father is, please. With a shrug, she washed out the container that held my leftovers from last night.
I'm just saying, there is a reason I had 3 sons. Your father's sperm was young and strong.
Ugh, la 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 la. There I stood, almost 31 years old with my fingers in my ears, trying not to hear my mother talk about my father's sperm while singing out of tune. Hitting my chest, my mother frowned.
Stop that. I worry about you. Now, what time will you be over for dinner tonight? It's your day off, right? Nicholas, what are you hiding from me?
She gasped.
A girl? Are you spending the day with a girl?
I laughed. No, Cole and I are going hiking. She frowned for a moment and looked deep into my eyes before her smile returned.
Bring him. I'll make sure there is a good Greek girl there for you both.
No, Mama, we can't. We're planning on camping out all night. The lies were flowing from my mouth. I made a mental note to text Cole. I didn't trust my mother. Her eyes searched my face, looking for any sign I was going to be with anyone other than Cole. With a pat on my chest, she said,
You be careful. There are wild animals up there, Nicholas. You 2 boys would give them a lot to chew on.
She squeezed my arms as she lifted on her toes and kissed my cheek.
Sagapo.
Kissing her on the forehead, I replied, I love you too, Mama.
Bring that food. You can heat it up.
Yes, ma'am. One quick look at the clock told me I was going to be late picking up Gabby. Cole is waiting on me, Mama. I need to get ready to go. Taking her hand, she grabbed onto my face and stared into my eyes. She smiled and said,
I think you're going to find love soon, O Yosmu.
I forced a smile. I had a feeling I'd already found something close to it, and my mother was not going to be happy about it. Chapter 9. Nick. How did you do it?
Well, hello to you too, Nick. I'm fine. Kylan's fine, and Kira misses her uncle and would like to see you before she turns 10.
I rolled my eyes. My little brother Thano could be a serious pain in the ass. Hello, Thano. I miss Kira too. I'm planning to come over soon, and speaking of your wife, Mom thinks Kylan's pregnant. Silence. Laughing, I rubbed the back of my neck. I'll take your silence as a yes, she is.
How in the hell does she do that? Kylan will freak out if Mom says anything to anyone.
Well, she already said something to me. You can only imagine who else she voiced her thoughts to.
Son of a bitch.
The reason I was calling is to ask you how you dealt with telling Mom about Kylan."
Why? Are you dating someone?
He said it with a fake laugh. I didn't say anything.
Holy shit. Who is she?
"We're hanging out, that's all. Her name is Gabby."
Kylan! Kylan!
"What are you screaming about?" I asked as I grabbed my keys and headed out the door. Thano laughed, then called out,
"He's dating someone!"
Who's dating someone?
Kylan asked in the background.
"Nick's spending the day with a girl and he's hiding it from Mom."
I sighed. There was a lot of noise and all I could hear was Kylan demanding the phone.
Nick. Yeah, hi, it's Kylan. For the love of all things that are good in this world, please tell me you're dating someone, please.
I couldn't help but laugh. Poor Kylan would finally get a reprieve from my mother if I had a girlfriend. Especially if she wasn't Greek. It's only a second date, and she's Italian. Very Italian. Like both her parents were from Italy. Silence. It sounded like the phone dropped to the ground. "What did you say to my wife, you bastard?" "She's crying." Laughing, I replied. I told her I was going on a second date with a girl who was Italian. "Dude, don't fuck around with me. This is not the time. Are you serious right now? I mean, the whole you going on more than one date is freaking awesome, but she's not Greek? Don't do me that way if you're fucking around." Shit. This should be a warning sign for me. For real, it's only a second date, though. Do you really think Mom will freak if she finds out? A second date for you is huge, and yes, she's going to freak the hell out. I need to go. Kylan and I have some celebrating to do. The line went dead. Pulling the phone back, I looked at it before tossing it on the passenger seat. My fingers laced through my hair. "Shit," I whispered. I'd have to keep Gabby a secret for now. That wouldn't be so hard. 10 minutes later, I was parking and heading to Gabby's front door. The door to the bakery opened and Charity came walking out. I smiled and waved. "Hey, Charity." She stepped in front of me and held her hand up.
Listen, Gabby is like a sister to me. She doesn't open up to anyone, not even me half the time. If you hurt her, I will find a way to hurt you. I don't care that you're the popo."
My head jerked back and I chuckled. "The popo?"
"I will find a way to hurt you. Capiche?"
She stood on the tips of her toes and stared me down. Clenching my jaw to keep from laughing, I nodded. Charity was all 5'2" and probably weighed next to nothing. It was kind of cute how she thought she was a threat. Got it.
"I'm serious, Nick. Gabby means a lot to me, and I need you to know how big this is for her. I've only known her to go on 2 dates, and they were both not something she wanted to do. She likes you. Don't play her."
The thought of playing Gabby caused a tightness in my chest. The last thing I'd ever want to do is hurt her.
"Don't get me wrong. I like the whole alpha male thing you've got going on, but heed my warning, mister."
I held up my hands in defense. "Charity, from the little I know of you, trust me, I won't be getting on your bad side." She smiled.
"Good. Now, she doesn't know this, but she has tomorrow off because I'm hoping you're planning a nice evening for her, and I don't want her rushing home."
I hope I am. At least, I'm trying to. I'm not really good at the whole dating thing. She narrowed her eye at me.
"I figured as much. Just blow her mind away with some earth-shattering sex."
Holy shit. Wow, you went from don't hurt her to earth-shattering sex? It's only our second date. She nodded. The way her smile crept over her face, I couldn't help but smile back. Charity tapped her hand on my chest.
"I love her, but Jesus Christ, she needs to loosen up. The kind of loosening up you do after you've had mind-blowing sex."
You realize how much pressure you're now putting on me, right? She laughed.
"Please, I've been around the block, Nick. I know your type. I seriously doubt you have problems making a girl."
Her eyes traveled down to my dick and I instantly felt violated. I covered my junk and her eyes lifted back to mine.
"Loosen up,"
she finished with a wink. Pinching my brows, I said, "I don't know if you complimented me or insulted me just now." With a one-shoulder shrug, she turned and headed back into the bakery. I shook my head to clear my thoughts and also made a mental note to hook up Charity and Cole. Cole would love the feisty attitude of Charity, and I had no doubt she would keep him on his toes. They would be perfect for each other. Pressing the bell, her sweet voice soon filled the air.
"Hello?"
"Hey, it's Nick."
"Come on up."
I could hear the smile in her voice, and that caused my body to warm. All these feelings were new to me, and I wasn't really sure how to read it. Is sex on the second date too soon? Maybe I should have asked Thano. Stopping, I pulled out my phone and hit his number.
Hey, if you're calling to tell me that was all a joke, I'll hate you forever.
No, that's not why I'm calling. I need to ask you something.
Shoot.
I pulled in a deep breath. How did you know Kylan was different from the other girls? Thano didn't say anything at first before he smiled.
I just knew. I felt things I'd never felt before. Not even with Savannah.
His words from before came back to my mind.
I couldn't stop thinking about her. Wanted to see her every chance I could. Would think of excuses to call her on the phone just to hear her voice.
What about sex? Is the second date too soon?
Do you like her? I mean, really like her? Not like I want to get in her pants and fuck her like her.
I nodded even though I knew he couldn't see me. Yeah, I do. I've never had a woman make me feel this way before. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want in her pants, bad. But if she told me she wanted to wait, I'd wait as long as she needed. I love being around her. Gabby makes me laugh. I feel relaxed when I'm with her.
Take your time, Nick. Get to know each other.
So you're saying no sex today?
I'm saying let your heart lead the way. You'll know when the time is right.
There was a few seconds of silence before Thano laughed.
Damn, bro. I never thought we'd be having this convo.
Me either. I'm not saying it's anything more, but I'm also going on a second date and hoping for more.
Well, don't push her, dude. If she's the one, she's worth the wait.
Knocking on the door, I went to reply when Gabby opened the door. My God, she was beautiful. Gotta go, Thano. Later. Hitting end, I shoved my phone in my pocket. Good morning, she said with a huge smile on her face. I said the only thing my brain could muster up. Hey. She opened the door wider, motioning for me to come in. Am I dressed okay? I mean, for hiking and all that? My eyes raked over her body. She wore black yoga pants and a t-shirt that had the name of her bakery on it in hot pink. Her hair was pulled up in a ponytail and she wore a wide hot pink headband. Her makeup was light, like the first day I met her. She looked adorable as fuck, and sexy as hell. I couldn't believe her dressed this way was sexier to me than last night. You're perfect. Her cheeks turned pink. You're too sweet. I'm only in yoga pants and a t-shirt. Hardly perfect. I shook my head and took a step closer to her. Her tongue instantly ran over her lips as she prepared for my kiss. All I could think about was tasting her again. She tasted sweeter than honey. Leaning down, I wrapped my arm around her and rested it on the small of her back. I've been thinking about kissing you ever since last night. Her chest rose and fell quickly. The corner of her mouth rose as she whispered, Then kiss me. Before I had a chance to, Charity came walking out from her bedroom and up to us. She dropped the bag at Gabby's feet.
Well, don't you two look like you're getting to know each other?
I jerked my head back and gave her a confused look. How in the hell did you get up here before me? Wait, what? Gabby asked as she looked between the two of us.
Back steps. I ran. Fast.
I'd say, I replied. Did you see each other or something? Gabby asked confused. With a cocky grin, I answered her. Charity here was nice enough to offer me some tips about our date today. Really? Gabby asked as her brow rose up in question. Charity grinned from ear to ear.
I packed you an overnight bag. Don't come home tonight. I have to work tomorrow, Chair. Nope. I'm making you take another day off.
Gabby laughed. I've already had 2 days off. I need to... Lifting her hand, she placed her finger on Gabby's lips and loudly said,
Shh, we've got this. Go have fun, loosen up.
She shot her eyes at me and nodded, as if reminding me of our conversation downstairs. I don't know, Charity. I don't think I need to be taking another day off. Finger to lips again. Shh. Charity took Gabby by the arm and walked her away from me.
Gabby, I mean this as a friend. An opportunity like this...
She pointed to me. I looked around like there was someone else in the room.
He doesn't come along all the time. You need this.
Gabby's head pulled back in question. Need what? With her hands on her hips, Charity tilted her head.
Hello? Greek dick meet Italian pussy, remember?
Gabby's mouth dropped open, and I was pretty sure I choked on my own spit.
Charity, what is wrong with you?
I attempted to clear my throat and stop coughing as Gabby walked over to me. I'm so sorry. Water? Please. After handing me a glass of water, Gabby looked at me with sadness in her eyes. If you want to cancel today, I completely understand. Stopping, I took her hand in mine and pulled her to me. I was taken by surprise, Gabby. There is nothing more I'd rather do than spend the day with you. Her eyes lit up like fire. You could almost feel the desire bouncing between us. She chewed on her lip. Reaching up, I pulled it free and ran my thumb over her soft, plump lip. The night part will come when you're ready.
She's ready.
Gabby's eyes snapped over my shoulder.
Charity, please go away.
Focusing back on me, her cheeks turned red and she looked down.
It's just, I haven't been out with anyone in a long time and, well,
she swallowed hard.
I feel it too, Nick. So much so it scares me. Can we just take it day to day and let things go how they go?
Of course, Gabby. I'd never pressure you to do something you're not ready to do. She smiled and my damn stomach dropped again. Fuck, I wanted this girl. But I needed to be patient. I liked that she wasn't eager to jump into bed with me. Not that I would argue if she wanted to. Her smile dropped and doubt crept into her eyes.
I'm sure a guy like you isn't used to waiting on a girl.
Lifting my hand, I traced my finger down her jawline. Agape menni. Some things are worth waiting for.
Chapter 10. Gabby. I was going to kill Charity. Kill her. I couldn't believe she had said that in front of Nick and packed an overnight bag for me. Why didn't she just put a whore on my forehead? Of course, after how sweet Nick was, the only thing I could think about was having sex with him. What he would feel like inside me. Was he gentle or a little rough? Did he take his time, or was he the type of guy who didn't care if the girl was pleasured or not? No, not Nick. I could tell already by the sweet things he said to me, he would be the type to take care of me first, then him. My heart raced the more I thought about sex with Nick. I needed to stop now. This is what happens when you go so long without sex. Of course, it wasn't lost on me that Nick picked up my overnight bag. Truth be told, I was hoping our hike would lead to his house, which would lead to a shower, which would lead to other things. Stop it, Gabby. Focus.
We're almost there, Nick called back. Just around this switchback.
I breathed in a deep breath. The air up here was amazing. It felt so pure. But at the same time, it was kicking my ass. I needed to get back to the gym. As I came up behind Nick, I gasped at the sight before me. The grassy meadow was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Wow.
It's called the Garden of Eden.
It's beautiful.
Nick turned to me. I can't believe you lived here for so long and never been on any of the hiking trails.
With a weak smile, I didn't want to tell him I was afraid of being alone, that I craved the peace, but feared someone was following me. Charity isn't much of an outdoor kind of girl, even though she made me buy everything clothes and shoes-wise to go hiking. He took my hand in his as we walked across the meadow.
I love being outside. I've hiked all over these hills. It helps me find the inner peace I crave so much.
I bet you need that with your job and all.
Yeah. My job can get pretty intense.
I kicked at a rock while drawing in a breath. And dangerous. Nick came to a stop and squeezed my hand as he turned to me. I could get lost for days in those eyes.
Yes, but that's why we train as much as we do.
Running his finger along my jaw, I saw the excitement cross his face when my body reacted to his touch.
Does that scare you? My job?
I thought for a moment. It didn't feel like it was too soon to be having this conversation. There was no doubt we were drawn to each other, and I was positive more dates would be in our future. I got the feeling this was new to both of us. The last time I had a serious boyfriend was 6 years ago, and even then I wasn't drawn to him like I was Nick. What started out as an attraction soon led to something far more dangerous. It scares me, but not in a way that would scare me off. Does that make sense? The corners of his mouth rose, and a hint of his dimples showed through where he had trimmed up his 5 o'clock shadow.
That makes perfect sense. It also makes me happy.
The way his green eyes lit up had my heartbeat racing. I'd never been so drawn to a man's eyes, or ever felt this way about a guy before. It was as if I couldn't get enough of his smiles, kisses, and his touch. Lord knows I wanted more of his touch. I got the feeling Nick felt the same. We were both guarded, but curious as hell. Each time he touched me, my body trembled, and I knew he saw it. You could see in his eyes he liked to see what his touch did to me. "I've had fun today," I said as I leaned against his body. He gently spun me around, wrapping his arms around me. It felt so natural, like we'd been seeing each other for months, like we fit together like two puzzle pieces. He leaned over and whispered against my ear, "I've never brought a girl up here before." His confession thrilled and stunned me all at once. Looking up at him, I watched while he looked straight out over the meadow to the distant mountains, like his statement was hard to admit. "Why not?" I asked. He held me tighter. "I've never wanted to share it with anyone before." Turning, I placed my hands on his chest. "Why share it with me?" When his eyes met mine, I felt the air leave my lungs. I'd never had anyone look at me the way Nick did, like he was searching deep within my soul. "I don't know. There's something about you that draws me to you. Then last night, I couldn't stop thinking about you and that sweet, wet pussy of yours, aching for me to make you come." Oh my God. I never in my life thought I would like a guy talking dirty to me, but I sure as hell liked Nick talking to me that way. My panties instantly were wet, and I longed for him to pick up where he left off. He then added, "I can't help the way you make me feel, the things I long to do to you." My teeth sunk into my lip as I grabbed his t-shirt and lifted to the tips of my toes. "You do things to me too, especially when you talk naughty like that." He smiled. "Oh yeah? You like it?" Nodding, I felt my cheeks heat. "I do, and that surprises me." Nick ran his fingers down the side of my cheeks. "You look beautiful when your cheeks get flushed. When I talk to you like that, they turn a beautiful pink." I dropped my gaze. "Don't be shy, Gabby. A nice girl can have a little bit of naughty in her, too." My head dropped onto his chest, and I felt his body rumble with laughter. When I finally gained the courage I needed, I dropped my head back and looked up at him. "I've only ever been with one man, and even then it was a forced relationship." Nick frowned. "He didn't..." I shook my head. No, nothing like that. We were friends and our families thought we needed to be more. He never hurt me, but he certainly didn't care how I felt about things, if that makes sense. There was no doubt that was anger I saw in Nick's eyes. Maybe I needed to think about getting into a relationship a little harder. No, I've waited long enough and I never felt like this with anyone else before. The deal I made when I went into this was to wait 3 years before I became romantically involved with someone. It had been 6. There was only one thing I was unsure of, though. Did I want a relationship built on a lie? The truth hidden deep within me and the fear it could show its ugly head at any time. If Nick ever found out the truth, the thought made me sick to my stomach. He would hate me. Bending down, his finger lifted my chin. "Hey, are you okay? You're shaking." Forcing a smile, I nodded. "Yeah, just a little chilly with the wind up here." He didn't believe me. When he looked like he wanted to press me for more information, I stepped away and walked a little further into the meadow, my arms wrapped tightly around my body. I had only known Nick 2 days, and I was already longing to tell him everything. I was greedy, though. The longing for happiness outweighed the need for the truth. "Gabby, you can talk to me, you know that, right?" Smiling, I replied, "I know. I'm just taken by how beautiful this is and how I've been missing out on it." "I've got so many more places to show you if you want." In that moment, I knew what I wanted. It was time to move on and leave the past in the past. I'd go to Italy, do what I needed to do, and then never look back. It would destroy both me and my family, but the only way to be truly free was to break the tie. Nodding, I softly replied, "I'd like that very much."
Chapter 11. Nick. I pushed away the notion I had that Gabby was hiding something from me. I didn't have to know every single thing about her past. just like she didn't have to know everything about mine.
I'm starving,
she gasped as we made it back down to where we first started. There's a great place to eat in Woodland Park. The drive into town was comfortable and easy, like always. There was never a moment of awkwardness between the two of us. The only time Gabby wandered away from the conversation was if it had to do with her past. Anything that had happened the last 4 years was open game. Before that, forget it. This is it. Joni's. Best damn place in town. Gabby chuckled. What, no Greek? I rolled my eyes. Let me get your door. Jumping out of my truck, I jogged around to the passenger side and opened her door.
Such a gentleman.
She wouldn't be saying that if she knew the things I was thinking about doing to her right now. The place was packed, like always. When it was finally our turn to order, Gabby got a chicken pesto melt, and I got the Reuben. Gabby snagged a table outside while I grabbed our drinks.
Their desserts looked heavenly,
she said as I set her Diet Coke in front of her. I have an inn with a bakery in Old Colorado. She makes the best panna cotta this side of the Mississippi. She cleared her throat and raised an eyebrow, so I added, in the whole country, honestly.
I have a confession.
The waitress brought out our 2 sandwiches.
Anything else?
We both said no. I took a bite of my Reuben and asked, what's your confession? That sweet face of hers turned a shade pinker.
I made you something last night. I couldn't sleep after you left.
There was no way I could stop the wide grin from moving over my face. I knew I left her horny as hell, but the idea of her finishing herself off without me pissed me off. I'm sorry about that, Agape Manny. Her eyes lit up.
What does that mean?
Sweetheart. She pulled the corner of her lip in between her teeth.
I like that.
You'll like it even more when I whisper it in your ear while making love to you. Her mouth formed a small O as she stared at me with a dreamy face. She whispered,
What are you doing to me?
Our gaze was locked on one another as we sat for a moment in silence. Reaching across the table, I took her hand in mine and lightly placed a kiss on the back of it. I could ask the same thing of you, because I don't make love, Gabby. Her brow lifted.
You don't?
Slowly shaking my head, I replied, I fuck. Hard and fast. But with you, I want so much more. She softly whispered my name. Nick. My chest ached. I want to kiss you so badly right now. Her face blushed and she took a quick look around. My brother Thano's house isn't too far from here. Feel like meeting some family? Her mouth dropped open.
Okay.
Laughing, I took another bite of my sandwich. I needed to move us in another direction or we were about to have public sex. Gabby laughed. They won't bite, I swear. You'll love Kylan and she is going to love you. She worried her lower lip and I could see the sheer fear in her eyes. I haven't seen my niece Kira in a few weeks. I promised Thano I'd stop by and visit with her and we're so close. Gabby grinned.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah? Nodding, she replied with a giggle.
Yeah.
Gabby rubbed her hands over her pants and took in a deep breath. If you don't want to go, we don't have to stop. Turning to me, she smiled.
No, it's just,
Family on the second date?
Yes.
Laughing, I ran my finger along her jawline. She was so beautiful, and the way her body shook with my touch was a fucking turn-on, if ever there was one. We won't stay long, I promise.
I'm enjoying myself, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy meeting your brother and his family.
I leaned over and kissed her cheek quickly before jumping out and jogging over to her side. The moment she stepped out of the truck, I laced her fingers with mine. If I knew Kylan, she was already watching everything. Heading to the front door, it flew open before we reached it. I knew it. Kylan's face was lit up like the 4th of July.
Oh my God. The heavens did answer my cries of mercy.
Gabby's smile faded a bit before she plastered it back on. Forewarning, Kylan may be a little excited to meet you.
Why?
Oh, you'll find out in about 5 seconds. And right on cue, Kylan rushed out and took Gabby into her arms.
You are an angel sent straight from God.
Pushing her out at arm's length, she looked her over.
You're not Greek?
Gabby laughed.
Nope.
Kylan looked up at the sky and mouthed, thank you. Focusing back on Gabby, she nonchalantly shook her head.
I finally got another normal person on my side. Yay?
Kylan hooked her arm with Gabby and led her into the house.
I know I sound crazy, but give me 30 minutes and I'll have you all caught up on the crazy, also known as the Drivas family.
Gabby looked back at me with wide eyes. Better you know now than after we have sex and you fall in love with me. She snarled her lip at me while Kylan dragged her off. So, she's pretty, Thano said as he walked in, as the girls walked out of the room. Turning to Thano, I smiled. She's fucking beautiful. He laughed. Are you trying to scare her off? No, why? I asked, giving him a confused look. Kylan is going to fill her in on everything. Mom, Dad, the family. I waved him off. Nah, Gabby won't be scared off. Besides, I don't plan on the family meeting her anytime soon. Thano laughed. Yeah, good luck with that. Mom has some weird sense for these things. I'm telling you, she'll find out, and when she does, all hell's gonna break loose. She likes Kylan. Handing me a beer, Thano nodded. She does. But do you remember that shirt Dad used to wear all the time? Which one? He has a ton of them. The one that said Italian food is just like Greek food, except with less flavor. I laughed. Oh yeah. You know how Mom and Dad feel about Italians after that whole incident with Thad. Add in the fact that Gabby owns a bakery and I'm guessing she likes to cook. My beer stopped at my lips. Fuck. I forgot Thad dated an Italian girl, whose mother tried to steal away Mom's middle son. The shit's gonna hit the fan. Yep, Thano said before taking a long drink. Gabby's different. She has no parents, and she's a simple girl. Mom will love her. My brother raised a brow and said, You keep telling yourself that. All I know is that if things work out with you and this girl, my wife is getting a major break from Mom. I chuckled. Then let's toast to things working out. Hell yeah. Our beers clinked together. Nick, I'm glad to see you dating someone. You deserve to find love. Don't get all emotional on me, little brother. We're having fun, that's all. He stared at me for a few seconds before smiling. I knew he could see right through me. I didn't have fun by dating one single girl. I had fun by fucking a different girl every other week. Here I was sitting in his house with the girl I'd only been on 2 dates with, chatting it up with his wife. I tried like hell to ignore the feeling deep within my chest, the one I'd never experienced before, but grew more and more with each passing moment I spent with Gabby. I'm not looking for love, Thano. He nodded and lifted his hands up. If you say so. I downed my beer. I say so. Now where's my niece?
Chapter 12. Gabby. Sitting in a stunned silence, I stared at Kylan. You had to have a Plan B birthing plan? She nodded. Yep. Wow. I thought my family had issues. Kylan laughed. For as much of a pain in the ass they are, there isn't a damn thing they wouldn't do for me or Kira. I know that with all my heart. But if things do turn serious for you and Nick, be prepared to not only have Nick's immediate family in your life, but all the family. It's like a package deal. At Kira's birthday party a few weeks ago, this entire backyard was filled with Thano's family. I woke up 3 nights in a row in a cold sweat with dreams of people yelling out, Opa! I covered my mouth to hide my laugh. Well, we're just getting to know each other. It's only our second date. She scrunched her nose up. And here you are, sitting on my back porch talking to me. My hands wrung together nervously. When Nick mentioned meeting his brother and family, I panicked internally. Meeting family is huge. That means more people in my life. More of a chance of someone wanting to dig into my past. May I be honest with you, Gabby? Yes, please do. I held my breath. She was going to tell me Nick was all wrong for me, that I was not Nick's type, and that after he had his fun with me, I'd be another notch in his belt. I've been in this family for over 5 years, and I have never seen nor heard of Nick dating anyone. He's never brought a girl home to meet his brothers or parents before. He really likes you, Gabby. I saw the way he looked at you, the same way Thano looks at me. I swallowed hard. I really like him too. He brings out feelings in me I've never experienced before. She smiled. I love Nick, and the last thing I'd ever want was for him to get hurt. Is
That why you told me about the family? Yes, and I wished like hell someone had warned me. I giggled. I haven't dated anyone seriously in a long time, Kylan. I've pretty much lived a quiet, non-existent life. But when he walked into my bakery, my entire world felt like it had been woken up. Not just my body, but my heart as well. Chewing on her lip, she leaned in closer. Okay, something else I have to tell. Greek men, well, you know what they say. With a roll of my eyes, I replied, I've heard a rumor or two. Her cheeks flamed. They are possessive, in and out of bed. It's more of a gentle possessiveness. There isn't anything Thano wouldn't do for me. Now it was time for my cheeks to heat up. Well, we're taking things slow, but he certainly knows how to rev up my engine. Kylan covered her mouth and giggled. Oh, I can imagine. And Nick slow? Wow, I'm impressed. Hang on tight, girl. If he is anything like his brother, you're in for a ride. And I do mean ride. We both lost it laughing. It was nice to have someone other than Charity to talk to. Not that I didn't love her like a sister, but talking to Kylan was fun and different. I'd surrounded myself with only Charity the last 4 years, and having another girl to talk to was a nice change. What's so funny? I glanced up and nearly fell out of my seat at the sight of Thano walking up. I know. Wait till you see Thad. I don't know what their mother did, but she produced 3 crazy, handsome boys. Kylan stood and wrapped her arms around her husband. After a quick kiss, she faced me. Gabby, this is Thano. I stood and reached my hand out for his. He pulled me to him and kissed me gently on the cheek. It's nice to meet you, Gabby. I'm not sure what you did to my big brother in there, but keep doing it. I haven't seen him this relaxed in a long-ass time. Not sure what to say, I simply smiled. The next thing I knew, a young girl in curls ran out the door screaming, Uncle Nick is going to get me! Save me! She stopped on a dime when she saw me. Her sweet blue eyes lit up and she pointed to me. You are very pretty. Who are you? Nick was by my side, kissing me gently on the cheek. This is Gabby, Squirt. Gabby, this is Squirt, otherwise known as Kira. I bent down and offered my hand to her. It's so nice to meet you, Kira. She wore a wide smile. Are you Uncle Nick's girlfriend? Opening my mouth, I wasn't sure how to answer that. Nick answered for me. Scooping up the little girl, he threw her over his shoulder. She is, but you'll always be my number 1 girl. Joy danced through my heart at Nick telling Kira I was his girlfriend. Even though it was only our second date, the declaration felt right. Squeals of delight came from her mouth. Yay! My heart melted as I watched Nick play with his niece. He'd make a wonderful father. A slow ache began to build. I never really longed for a family of my own. In that moment, it was all I could do to not dream of that with Nick. Too soon. These feelings were happening way too fast. Peeking over to Kylan and Thano, they were gazing at me like I was the best thing since apple pie. Gabby, come play hide and seek. I quickly made my way out into the yard with Nick and Kira. Okay, well, you guys have fun. I'm taking my wife inside for a bit. Kylan giggled and let Thano lead her into the house. My mouth fell open. Turning, I looked at Nick. Are they... He tossed his head back and laughed. I guess they saw an opportunity and took it. I couldn't help but chuckle. I guess so. Nick opened the door to his condo and motioned for me to go in first. Following, I gasped when I saw the view before my eyes. Wow, why in the world would you want to move with a view like this? He set the 3 bags of groceries down on his kitchen island. I don't know, a change would be nice. I figured I'm almost 31. Buying a house seemed like the next step. Walking to the wall of glass, I looked out at the sun dipping below the mountains. This was why I decided to stay in this city. I was ready to put my past behind me and start dreaming about the future. And Nick was the person I wanted to do that with. but could I start a relationship with someone I was so drawn to on a lie? He spoke and I jumped.
And if you hadn't backed out of the bidding war, I might not be talking about the little blue house I'm closing on in a month.
I laughed as I spun back around and helped him take out the fixings for lasagna. I did love that house, and I'm sad I let it go.
I happen to know the new owner. I bet he'd let you come and have a sleepover.
My lower stomach pulled. Tempting offer. Sparks seemed to ignite the air as we both stood and stared at one another. I finally broke the stare down. Are you sure you want me to make lasagna?
Hell yes, I'm sure,
Nick said as he pulled out the long loaf of fresh Italian bread we had just bought. I laughed when he took a bite off the end of it. If we were at my house, you'd be eating it with fresh pasta. Nick sauntered over to me, placed his hands on my hips, and pulled me to him.
If we were at your place, Charity would be pushing us to the bedroom and probably telling me the correct way to use my dick.
Laughing, I hit him on the shoulder. You're so bad. Right, but bad. He quickly kissed me on the cheek.
I'll put some music on, and you get to cooking dinner for me, woman.
Colby Calais' soft voice came through the speakers, and I couldn't help but smile. I love her, I called back over my shoulder. I felt him before he touched me. The hairs on my neck stood, and my lower stomach dropped as his hand moved around and rested on my stomach. He pulled me back against him, and I rested my head on his massive chest. His hot breath tickled my skin while he teased me with his lips.
I've been wanting to tell you all day how heavenly you smell.
I could only respond with a,
So good. I've been fighting the urge to explore your body to see if every inch of you smells just as divine.
Nick, I whispered in a needy voice. He placed a soft kiss under my ear before moving his hand up to my breasts. He rubbed his thumb over my nipple, and I could feel it straining against my bra.
I'm going to make you come so hard you'll see stars.
My legs went weak and his grip on me tightened. Yes, I gasped. I didn't even care how needy that made me sound. I couldn't stop thinking about his touch, dreaming of what his face would feel like between my legs. He turned to me.
I want to touch you now, Gabby. Hear my name fall from your lips as you come.
Touch me, Nick. Please. Before I even knew what was happening, I was in his arms and he was walking us to his bedroom. My heart started beating faster.
We won't do anything you don't want to do, but I want to see that pretty Italian pussy of yours.
My face buried into his chest as it burned with embarrassment. Nick stopped walking.
Look at me, Gabby.
I did as he said,
Don't ever be embarrassed by your body. It's perfect in every single way.
Chewing on my lip, I craved to do anything I possibly could for this man to make him happy. I promise I won't be, I softly said as I gazed into his beautiful hazel eyes. His eyes turned dark as he headed into his bedroom. Gently sliding me down his body, he smiled a smile that knocked me out of my socks.
Tell me what you want me to do, Agape Mani. I want to hear it from your lips, how you want me to make you come.
My cheeks heated again. This man was going to kill me. Closing my eyes, I shook my head. I'd never been open with a man before, telling him what my fantasies were. I certainly couldn't do it with him. Warm hands cupped my face.
Look at me.
My eyes snapped open and looked deep into his. He stared deep into my soul while he slowly spoke.
Tell me how you want me to make you orgasm.
I swallowed hard. I knew exactly how I wanted him to do it. Start with your hand and then... My eyes drifted down to his mouth. The left corner slowly rose into the sexiest smile I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Keep talking, baby.
Chewing on my lip, I dug deep down inside and said the words I'd been thinking. I want you to use your mouth. A full-blown knock-me-the-hell-over smile spread over his face.
That's my good girl. I think the lasagna is going to have to wait a few more minutes.
I let out a nervous chuckle. Nick dropped to his knees but kept his eyes on me. When his hands grabbed my waist, I gasped. He slowly pulled my yoga pants down. He moaned when he saw the baby blue lace panties I had on underneath. Blue just became my new favorite color. Smiling, I fought the urge to reach for my own breasts. The heat of his stare alone was beginning to start the build-up. I stepped out of my pants and Nick tossed them to the side. When he pushed his face into my panties, I moaned and dug my fingers into his thick, dark hair. His long intake of air caught me off guard and caused my lower stomach to pull with a desire I'd never in my life experienced before. "Jesus," I whispered. "Damn, baby. You smell so fucking good." I couldn't pull my eyes off of him. The way he was worshipping my body had me trembling with anticipation. All I could smell was Nick. Everywhere. My eyes quickly searched his room. Dark gray covered the walls. The furniture was beautiful. It looked antique and had an old-world charm to it. I instantly loved everything about the room, and I had a feeling I would love it even more when Nick was finished with me. I gasped as his finger traced along the top of my panties. My heartbeat increased tenfold when he slowly pulled them off. I stood there, my entire lower body exposed to this man. A man I'd only known for a few days. So fucking beautiful. Lay down on the bed, I got be Manny. I want a better look at those pretty pink lips of yours. Oh my God. I was going to explode the moment he touched me. I walked backward until Nick jumped up and pulled me to a stop. "I need to see all of you." He lifted my t-shirt over my head and moaned when he saw the matching baby blue push-up bra. "You're going to kill me, Gabby." I couldn't help the smile that spread over my face. I'd never been treated like that before, like I was his everything. Nick stepped closer. My breathing increased as he reached his one hand up and traced his finger along my cleavage. The other hand moved to my back and, like an expert, he had my bra undone and falling to the ground. He took 2 stumbled steps back. God damn. I've never seen anything so beautiful in my life. I stood before him completely naked and exposed while he raked his eyes over my body. The greedy, hungry look in them had me growing hotter by the second. I knew if I touched myself, I'd be soaking wet. "Touch yourself, Gabby." A lump formed in my throat. Had I said that out loud? What? His eyes met mine. "Touch yourself." With a shaky hand, I slowly moved between my legs. I swept my fingers over my clit and gasped. "Are you wet? Slip your fingers in and tell me if you're wet." "Oh God," I whispered as I did what he asked. A long, slow hiss came from my lips. "Yes." My cheeks heated. Closing my eyes, I softly said, "So wet for you, Nick." He grabbed my wrist and pulled my hand up to his lips. Opening my eyes, my mouth slacked open as he pushed the 2 fingers I had just had inside of me into his mouth. Closing his eyes, he moaned as he sucked and ran his tongue over my fingers. Oh my God. Hottest moment of my life. I swear I'm gonna come any second. Slowly taking my fingers from his mouth, he smiled. "You taste better than I could have imagined." "Nick, please." A small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Lay down." I did as he asked, almost scrambling to get on my back. The way he crawled on the bed and over me had me pressing my legs together. I needed friction, anything to ease the ache. And with 4 words whispered from his mouth, I fell from the ledge, free falling into the most amazing moment of my life. "Spread your legs, Gabby."
Chapter 13. Nick. Her body trembled as she spread her legs open for me. I almost dropped to the floor when I saw that beautiful sight before me. Lips so soft and pink they were begging for my tongue to tease them. A pussy so wet it glistened with her desire. Fuck if I didn't want to bury my cock so deep inside her she would feel me for a week. Slow, This is for her, not you. My fingertips moved lightly up her thighs while I placed soft kisses along the path that led to paradise. Moving my lips closer, I blew on her clit. Her hips bucked. Grabbing her, I held her down. I'm going to keep sucking and licking on your pussy until your body stops shaking. Her head thrashed back and forth as her hands grabbed at my comforter.
Nick, God, please.
I loved hearing her beg. Touch your breasts, agapimene. Let me see you play with your nipples. She was so fucking responsive to everything. The moment her hands went to her breasts, I was fighting the urge not to take her. Then she twisted and pulled at her nipples, and I about lost all control. Fucking hell, Gabby.
Nick.
Keeping my eyes on her, I moved my tongue slowly through her soft pink lips.
Yes,
she hissed. I wanted to go slow, but once I got a taste of that sweet pussy, I got greedy and pushed my face into her, sucking and licking. There was no way I would ever be satisfied.
Oh my God,
Gabby cried out. I sucked, licked, and devoured her. Something inside of me changed, and I knew I had to make Gabby mine. The thought of any other man touching her boiled my skin. I would be the last man to ever touch this body. I would own this pussy. Her body began to tremble, and I knew she was close. Glancing up, I almost died. She was leaning up on her arms, watching me. The moment our eyes met, she lost it. Dropping back to the bed, she cried out my name as her orgasm raced through her body. When she finally came down from her high, I slowly crawled up her body, placing kisses all over her. I stopped and gave each nipple attention before moving to be face to face with her. I want to kiss you, Gabby. Make you taste how fucking sweet you are. Her mouth dropped slightly open. When her tongue barely licked over her lips, I knew that was her answer. Pressing my lips to her, she opened up to me again. I moaned as her tongue danced slowly with mine. Hands laced through my hair as she gave it a small tug, causing me to moan into her mouth. Fuck. I wanted this girl so damn bad. Pressing my hard dick against her, she wrapped her leg around me, lifting her hips to get more friction. The more we kissed, the more my hips moved against her, and before I knew it, Gabby was calling out my name again. I couldn't wait until the day I could take her and really make her mine. When her body stopped trembling, she opened her eyes and looked at me. Then Gabby whispered one word. Stars. Her fingers ran lightly through my hair, and I couldn't get over how beautiful she looked with the afterglow of her orgasms on her cheeks. You've wrecked me for any other man. Do you know that? With a chuckle, I kissed her lips. Good. Because after that, I'm going to need to have you in my bed every single day. Her eyes sparkled before she glanced down to the bulge in my pants.
What about you? Do you want me to?
Shy eyes looked back into mine. Don't worry about me, Principessa. Her teeth sunk into her lip. Soft hands trailed down my chest. Pushing out, Gabby pushed me onto my back. Trembling hands unbuttoned my pants while she continued to worry her lip. We both laughed as she tried to pull my jeans off. Kicking off my shoes, I lifted my hips and pushed them down. With a gasp, Gabby stared at my dick before peeking back at me.
You were commando.
With a wink, I replied. I'm almost always commando. A beautiful shade of red moved over her cheeks before she looked back down at me. I quickly pulled my jeans off and tossed them to the side. I wanted this to be about Gabby, but hell if I wasn't a greedy bastard. I needed to feel her lips around my cock. With a touch so soft I almost came on the spot, Gabby caressed my dick like it was a priceless piece of art. Fuck. It was hot as hell watching her nibble on that lip while she looked down at me. I'd give anything to know what she was thinking. Just then, her eyes snapped up to mine.
Take your shirt off,
she commanded with the cutest damn smile I'd ever seen. Fuck yes. My sweet, demanding Gabby. Sitting up, I pulled the shirt quickly over my head and discarded it to the floor. Gabby's eyes roamed over my body while her lips parted open slightly. My God, you're perfect, she whispered as she lifted her hand and lightly ran it over my chest and abs. My entire body shook with a feeling I'd never experienced before in my life. This woman was going to wreck me. Focusing back on my rock-hard dick, Gabby caressed it with both hands. The way she moved, I could tell this wasn't something she did before. Son of a bitch. How innocent is this girl? With a shake to her voice, Gabby spoke.
I haven't ever done this before.
My heart slammed against my chest. What in the hell did she just say? I fought to catch my breath as those sweet, innocent baby blues stared at me, waiting for me to respond to her admission. Sitting up, I pulled her to me and wrapped my arms around her. I'd never felt my heart pound so hard, not even on a damn raid.
I'm sorry,
she whispered. Pulling back, I lifted her chin so our eyes met. I'm the one who is sorry, Principessa. I would have never have let you do that, had I known.
But I wanted to do it. I'm not sure if I would do it right.
I wanted to tell her everything she did was right, the way she made my heart feel like it floated in my chest, or how each time she smiled at me she had stolen another piece of my soul. Everything she did was right, so much so it scared the hell out of me. Baby, I promise you the moment those lips wrapped around my dick, I was going to come. Gabby giggled and buried her face into my chest. Damn, I loved her innocence. That brings up something else we need to talk about. She lifted her head. If you want me to come in your mouth or not. She worried her lip.
I've heard Charity talk about it. She likes it. Said it made the whole experience better.
My fingers ran lightly over her back. I could really get used to this girl being naked and lying next to me each night. It's up to you. Either way, I'll let you know before I do. She grinned.
Is the mood gone? Or can I try?
Fucking hell. I'm slayed with this woman. I certainly won't say no. With a sexy as hell smile, she got up and moved over my body. The last thing I expected her to do was put that warm pussy over my cock. She lifted her brows and I grabbed onto her hips. We both stilled. Closing my eyes, I held my breath and tried like hell to fight the urge to flip her over and fuck her until she screamed my name.
Nick, is everything okay?
I nodded. You feel so damn good. I'm trying to keep my control, Gabby.
What if I don't want you to keep your control?
My eyes opened and my breath caught. What? She pressed harder against me, causing every ounce of blood to go right to my dick.
I want you, Nick. More than I've ever wanted anyone or anything.
Slowly, I shook my head. I don't want to push you. Her hands went to my chest, leaning down. She kissed me gently.
I promise I wouldn't do anything if I didn't want to. I want to know what you feel like inside me, how it feels when I come and you're moving in me.
Sitting up, I wrapped my arms around her beautiful body and slowly rolled her onto her back. I'd never made love to a woman. Sure, I've always made sure they came first, but when it came to fucking, it was simply fucking. With Gabby, I wanted so much more. I needed more. My body shook, and it wasn't because I wanted inside her so damn bad. It was something else, something I couldn't put my finger on. Cupping her head within my hands, I pierced her eyes with mine, my heart beating so loud, I swore she could hear it. It was out of my mouth before I could even stop myself. Gabby smiled as she lifted her hands and lightly ran her finger along my jaw.
What did you say?
The tightness in my chest grew. Do I tell her what I had said? I could easily lie and tell her all I said was I wanted her. But this was Gabby, the girl with the sky blue eyes and beautiful smile that made my heart stop the first time she looked at me. The woman who had me tossing and turning at night, thinking about her and the next time I could see her. I knew I had to tell her the truth. She deserved it. I said, I have never felt like this before. Her smile faded some, but her eyes lit up like the sky after a rainstorm. She searched my face before saying,
I haven't either. You make me forget everything. I want to get lost with you, Nick.
Her cheeks turned pink again.
I've only ever been with one guy, and I was tested after it ended.
My heart slammed against my chest. What are you saying?
What I feel with you, I never felt with him. This feels so different, and I want to experience it. Completely.
Swallowing hard, I stared into her eyes. Are you saying you don't want me to wear a condom?
I'm on the pill, but if you're not ready for something like that, I understand. Or if you think you might not be.
Her voice drifted off. I'm clean, Gabby. I've always used a condom. I've never not used one.
Oh, okay. I understand if you want to use one.
I shook my head. Damn this girl. Shit, her innocence was my undoing. Gabby, I've been tested. I'm clean, and trust me when I say I would love to make love to you without a condom on. A huge smile moved over her face.
Then take me, Nick, because I'm yours.
And like that, my walls came crashing down. I moved slightly, my dick pushing at her soft, wet entrance. Everything was spinning in my head. Her words, my words, the way I was feeling, the longing I felt to make love to her all night long. Nothing made sense anymore. The only thing I cared about was her, in this moment, feeling her body fall apart with me inside her, completely inside her with nothing in between. I couldn't help myself. I pushed into her fast and hard, causing her to let out a small whimper. Damn it, motherfucker. Fuck, Gabby. I can't control myself with you. Her legs wrapped around my body, pulling me as deep as she could. Her eyes closed, and the pain of me stretching her all at once evident on her face.
Give me 1 second to adjust to you. It's been a really long time.
I pressed my lips to her and begged for her forgiveness. Baby, I'm so sorry if I hurt you. It's taking everything I have to not fuck you right now. She opened her eyes and looked deep into my soul.
Make me yours.
Chapter 14. Gabby. Something changed in his eyes with those 3 words. He slowly pulled out and pushed back into me, the heavenly feeling almost too much. My build-up was already starting. He picked up the speed and I met him thrust for thrust. I could tell he was holding back and was about to lose control. And how I wanted to feel Nick Drivas lose control.
God damn it, Gabby. I'm trying to go slow, baby. You're squeezing down on me. Fucking hell.
I wanted him to fuck me more than anything. I needed him to. My nails dug into his back as I lifted my hips to him. I needed more, wanted so much more. More, I gasped while wrapping my legs around him tighter. Then the Nick who didn't make love showed up. He grabbed onto my hips and moved faster, harder. The pain now had slipped away and was replaced by utter bliss. I gasped as my orgasm quickly swept over my body. Oh God, I cried out as he pounded into my body, giving me every delicious promise he had whispered in my ear from the moment I first met him. My body shook as another orgasm rolled into the last. I'd never experienced this before. I never wanted Nick to stop. Him inside of me was the most beautiful thing I'd ever experienced. Grasping for the bedspread, my back arched as my orgasm reached to the point where I wasn't sure I could keep going on. Nick's body shook while he let out a long moan before dropping his head to my neck and calling out my name. We fell apart together as he poured himself into me. I knew nothing would ever be the same again. When his body finally came to a stop, he was still shaking while I lay under him in a state of pure bliss. My body so relaxed, all I wanted to do was fall asleep in his arms. Nick hovered over me while he caught his breath. He pulled out of me, quickly got up and walked away. My heart dropped as I watched him walk away without a single word. I'd never felt so used in my entire life. Was everything he said a lie? Words to get me into bed with him? Covering my stomach, I swung my legs over the bed and covered my mouth. I felt sick. Then he appeared in front of me, a washcloth in his hand. His eyes looked tortured. Placing his hand on the side of my face, he whispered,
I'm so sorry. You deserved so much more than that. I lost control with you, Gabby. I tried so hard not to.
His head dropped.
I'm so sorry.
My brows pinched together. Grabbing his face with my hands, I lifted his eyes to mine. That was amazing. I loved every single moment of what we just shared, Nick. It was raw and real, passionate. I didn't just see the stars. You took me to heaven. A small tug at the corner of his mouth revealed a slight smile.
I hurt you. I was too rough.
I shook my head. If you had hurt me, I would have told you.
But I lost control with you. I wanted to make love to you, and I couldn't hold back.
I didn't want you to hold back. I shook my head. With you, I forget everything and seem to be lost in the moment.
Is that a bad thing?
No, I said with a smile. It's a beautiful thing. Nick's lips were pressed to mine in a flash. His whispered words against my lips caused my desire to bloom again.
You're so beautiful, Gabby. And you're mine.
Yours, I whispered as I laid back on the bed, moving to the middle. Make love to me, Nick. His eyes lit up while they roamed over my body. I was shocked to see he was already hard again. I couldn't help but smile. You know what they say about Greek men. Nick's hand moved between my legs with 2 fingers sliding in. He moaned and closed his eyes.
Mine. You're mine, Gabby.
I watched his face as he spoke. It was a mix of confusion and happiness, exactly the same emotions I felt. Swallowing hard, I knew the words I was about to speak were the truth. I wanted to be his. For always. Yours, Nick. Forever yours.
Chapter 15. Nick. My heart was pounding as I slipped slowly back inside Gabby. Her warmth spread throughout my body like the hot summer sun. "You feel so damn good," I whispered as I buried my face into her neck. Inhaling a deep breath of her, I took every second in. This time moving slower, going deeper. I'd lost control with her the first time, and there was no way I was doing it again. I wasn't even sure how my dick was hard again this soon, but I sure as hell wasn't going to argue. Gabby moved in perfect harmony with me. We were one and the same, and I was so damn confused if I loved it or if it scared the piss out of me. There was one thing I was sure of. She was all that I wanted. Slowly moving, we whispered each other's names against our lips. I never wanted the moment to end. I was lost to this woman, and nothing else mattered but her and I. Arching her back, Gabby cried out my name as she came. I swore it sounded as if it was carried off on the wind and wrapped around my body, drawing out my own release. My body trembled as my orgasm came, and I poured myself into her. When my body came to a rest, I stayed inside her. Cradling her head within my hands, I pierced her eyes with mine. My chest was tight, but I wasn't sure if it was the feelings I suddenly felt for this woman, or the fear that gripped me because of those feelings. Agapimeni, what have you done to me?
Trivas, did you even hear a damn word I said?
I grabbed the towel off the handle and wiped my face. Turning to Cole, I asked, "What did you say?" His brows furrowed as he shook his head.
What is wrong with you, dude? For the last week you haven't been the same.
Scoffing at him, I responded, "Don't be ridiculous." He stopped running.
Dude, you're lost in your own world half the time. You never want to go for drinks. You haven't flirted with a single chick, and I'm pretty sure you're avoiding your family like the plague.
You must really have a thing for Gabby. I stopped on a dime. What? He lifted a brow, then chuckled.
Don't even act like I haven't noticed it. Ever since you met Gabby.
So I'm dating a girl, what's the big deal? Now Cole looked at me as if I was insane.
What's the big deal? Wasn't it you who said you'd rather die than be stuck with one pussy for the rest of your life?
With a push of the button, I started running again. We're having fun, enjoying each other's company, that's all. I looked back at him, feeling the weight of his stare on me.
That's not what Charity says.
Hitting the pause button again, I shot him a look. Charity? Have you been talking to Charity about me and Gabby? Cole held up his hands in defense.
Hey, she's the one who told me Gabby was walking around in a dream bubble. That it had been the happiest she'd seen her in 4 years.
I couldn't help the small crack of smile that formed at my mouth. She said that? He laughed.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to say the same damn thing about you. Dude, you really like her.
There was no sense in denying it. Gabby and I had spent every day together. I had to lay my eyes on her at least once a day, or I felt like I would lose my damn mind. I like her. Happy now? A wide grin spread over Cole's face. He slapped me on the side of the arm.
I'm happy for you, dude.
With a roll of my eyes, I started running again. Jesus, I'm not marrying her. I like her. We're having fun together.
And the sex?
I laughed. I don't kiss and tell, dude. Cole chuckled as he started up running again.
So, what do you know about Charity?
Taking a quick peek over at him, I smiled. You should totally go for it.
Really? She seems a little rough around the edges.
Nah, you two would hit it off, I'm positive.
Huh. Well, she's already turned me down once, so I don't know.
Cole replied as he put his headphones back in and ran faster. I couldn't help but chuckle. Cole and Charity. Yeah, that would be interesting. Gabby stared at me with her mouth dropped open.
Your whole family?
Today was my first day off in a week, and I couldn't wait to spend it with Gabby. She had adjusted her days off to match mine, but still got called in by that little prick Max every chance he could. Taking a bite of the linguine she had made for lunch, I nodded. Yeah, Thad and Phoebe are having their baby shower, so the whole family will be there. She chewed on her lip. I could see how freaked out that made her. I was positive Kylan had filled Gabby in on my family, and then some. Would you rather meet my parents first? Her eyes lit up.
Yes. I think I can handle that a little better. From what Kylan has said, I shouldn't go in the lion's den first. I need to ease in.
I laughed. Kylan might be a good one to listen to. How about if I see if Thano and Kylan can join us for dinner tonight at my folks'?
Last minute like that? Will they be upset?
This time I laughed harder. Are you kidding me? My mother will be thrilled, especially if I tell her I'm bringing someone with me. Gabby's expression turned to pure horror. Standing, I wiped my face and tossed the napkin to the table. Don't be afraid, Agapimeni. My mother will love you.
I'm not Greek.
Kylan isn't either. She nodded while she wrung her hands together. Do you know what you need? She shrugged and asked.
Dark hair, skin, and a Greek name.
Chuckling, I ran my finger along her jawline. A kiss. The corners of her mouth turned upright.
I do need a kiss.
A long one. I lifted my brows. Oh yeah? She nodded. Anything else?
Your hands on my body.
I like where you're going. Keep talking.
Your lips on my neck.
Drawing her body close to mine, I buried my face into her neck. Her head fell back as she let out a long, soft moan. Next, I whispered.
Touch me, Nick.
Where do you want me to touch you, baby? My body was on fire. I'd never been with a woman who turned me on 24 hours a day. I couldn't get enough of her.
Nick,
she whimpered. I cupped her breasts with my hands and smiled. Do you want me to touch your pussy, Gabby? She gasped. I knew she liked it when I talked dirty to her. It fueled her desire even more. When she didn't answer me, I grabbed her ponytail and pulled her head back. Her eyes met mine. Tell me.
Yes, I want you to touch me there.
With a smirk, I shook my head. Where is there? Her eyes closed as she whispered. Nick, please, tell me, I said with a growl.
My pussy.
Good girl. I softly spoke against her lips while my hand slid up her thigh. I like it when you wear dresses. When I brushed against her lips, I pulled back to look at her. No panties. Her cheeks flushed.
I went commando today.
My entire body trembled. This girl was my undoing. I wanted her desperately. Lifting her up, she wrapped her legs around me. Placing her on the kitchen table, I dropped to my knees.
Oh, God. Yes. Nick, yes.
Watch me make you come with my mouth, Gabby. She nodded while her chest heaved with excitement. My mouth was sucking on her clit 2 seconds later. Her fingers dug into my hair as she pulled me closer to her. My greedy girl liked oral sex. A lot.
Yes,
she cried when my tongue dipped into her sweet, wet center. I glanced up and almost died as I watched her bite down on her lip while she watched me eat her out. Grabbing her ass, I pulled her closer to me. Can't get enough.
Nick, I'm coming. Oh, God.
Her legs trembled as her orgasm swept over her body. She never once took her eyes off of me. Hot as fucking hell. I stood and undid my pants, pushing them down. When she looked into my eyes, my heart felt like it was about to pound out of my goddamn chest. I was falling for her. Hard. I couldn't make myself say the words, but I knew that Gabby Mandela was the last girl I wanted to sink my cock into ever again. This is going to be fast and hard. She nodded. Positioning myself at her entrance, I pushed in as she let out a hiss. I stilled long enough to ask if she was okay.
Yes, I'm better than okay.
Those were the words that drove me into her again. Faster, harder. Everything on the table was falling off to the floor, but I didn't give two shits. Being inside Gabby was like being in heaven. It was becoming an addiction, a drug I couldn't get enough of.
Harder, Nick. Yes?
Fuck me. I've died and gone to heaven. I pulled out and pounded back into her so hard the table moved. Can't stop, I cried out as I fucked her like never before. Gabby grabbed her breasts and twisted her nipples, and I swore everything from that point on went black.
Chapter 16. Gabby. Nick, I'm coming. I could feel Nick grow bigger as he pushed as deep as he could inside of me. My world was spinning as I fell apart along with him. Our bodies slapping against each other had to be one of the hottest sounds ever. It drove me to another wave of trembles. He moved in and out so hard and so fast that the table started to move across the floor. I'd never experienced this type of lovemaking before in my life. It was one of the most erotic moments of my entire life. When Nick finally stopped moving, he fell on top of me while I wrapped my arms around him. He fought for air as he said, "Hottest fucking moment of my life." Dragging in a deep, long breath, I said, "Wow, that was like nothing I've ever experienced before in my life." Nick drew back and stared into my eyes. I wanted so desperately to tell him I was falling in love with him, but I knew it was way too soon for that, and I wasn't sure if I was confusing lust for love. There was for sure a lot of lust going on between us. My heart stopped when he spoke his next words. "Gabby, I'm falling so damn hard for you." Thud. Butterflies jumped into action in my stomach as I gazed into his beautiful eyes. I opened my mouth to speak when I heard a key slip into his front door lock. We both turned and looked at the door. My chest squeezed at the thought of who could have a key to his condo. Fuck. The feelings I was experiencing were throwing me off. Was it another woman? Why would another woman have a key to his place? Cole, maybe? It's my mother. Okay, I was not expecting that. I was positive my expression turned to pure horror. Pushing Nick off of me, I dropped to the ground and frantically started to pick everything up off the floor. "Please don't do this to me, God. Please," I chanted as Nick dropped to my side and began cleaning up. "I changed the locks the other day so something like this would never happen." Stopping, I turned to him. "Really?" A smirk appeared on his face. "Because I really didn't want my mother walking in on us while we were fucking." My cheeks burned. That wouldn't be a very good impression. He laughed. "No, it wouldn't." "Nicholas! My key is not working!" Nick's phone started to ring and we both chuckled. After getting everything looking somewhat normal, he reached for my hand and kissed the back of it. "Well, looks like you're being pushed into the lion's den earlier than we hoped." I tried to appear calm as I shrugged and winked. "I'm ready." Bullshit. I was terrified, sick to my stomach. I just had sex with Nick. I was sure my hair was a mess and I had no panties on. This is not happening. "I'm heading to the restroom. What will you say?" He smiled a wide, breathtaking smile. He'd shaved 2 days ago, but his scruff was back. Not enough to hide those dimples, though. My stomach dropped. "I've got this. Go on." I nodded. "But, Nick..." "Yeah?" "Button your pants back up." He looked down and quickly buttoned up while I rushed to the bathroom to freshen up. On my way, I dashed into Nick's room. Opening his top drawer, I smiled and grabbed what I needed before slipping into the bathroom right as Nick opened the door for his mother. I had used the hall bathroom, so I heard every single word. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Why does my key not work?" I covered my mouth to hide my chuckle. I cannot believe his mother had a key to his place. After taking a close look at myself, I couldn't help but smile. I for sure had a just fucked glow to my cheeks. Pulling my hair up, I looked around for something to keep it up. I opened a drawer on the vanity and my heart seized as I stared at the pink makeup bag in front of me. It had a huge white S on the top of it. How old was it? Whose was it? Why was it in this bathroom? And who was S? Nick and his mother's voice mixed in with the questioning voice in my head. Who is here? Is there a girl here? Nick laughed. Yes, Mama. There's a girl here. She's in the bathroom. I should have been nervous as hell. Nick's mother was on the other side of the door. But all I could think about was the bag in front of me. A woman kept a spare makeup bag at Nick's. The only good thing about it was in the spare bathroom and not in his bathroom. But why had she left it if she hadn't intended on coming back? A random hookup wouldn't leave her makeup bag behind unless she knew she would be back. Nick said he didn't date. Confusion swept through my mind. Opening the bag, I peeked through it. Whoever she was, she liked expensive makeup. Then I found a piece of paper. My hands shook as I opened it. Scarlett, meet me at my place at 10. Don't wear panties. Nick. I dropped the note and stumbled back. Covering my mouth, I turned and threw up in the toilet. A light knock at the door startled me. Gabby? Are you okay? Tears streamed down my face, but I needed to get my shit together. I had no idea how long I had been in here. The thought of Nick being with another woman doing exactly what he had just done to me made my stomach turn again. I leaned over and threw up again. The door opened and I cursed myself for not locking it. Nick stepped in and looked at me, then over to the open drawer with the bag and note sitting on top of it. His eyes widened in horror. It's not what you think, Gabby. Standing, I grabbed some toilet paper and wiped my mouth. What in the world happened in here, Nicholas? It looks like you danced on the table, Nick's mother called out. The only thing I knew to do was regain my composure, go out and meet his mother, and then think of any excuse to leave. I slammed the drawer shut and turned on the water to rinse my mouth. Now I was pissed. Not at Nick. At me for being like this. Gabby, just let me explain everything after she leaves. Rinsing out my mouth, my thoughts started to go all over the place. I knew a part of this was my own guilt for not telling Nick the truth. But to have an ex-lover's note pop up in my face like that? It was too much. I realize I'm overreacting. I need to process some things. But for right now, we're going to go out there so I can meet your mother. When I walked into the dining area, a beautiful woman with dark hair and olive skin turned and gasped. I'm so sorry. I choked on bread and Nick scrambled over to help me. I was in the restroom trying to get myself back together. Another lie. Nick's mother stared at me. Once the shock wore off her face, I swore it was replaced by a look of pure evil. The way her eyes swept over my body made me want to run out the door and never come back. And who is this beautiful young woman, Nicholas? Wow, I was honestly surprised by her kind words. They certainly didn't match the look in her eyes. Mama, this is Gabby Mandela. Gabby, this is my mother, Katerina Drivas. I reached my hand up for hers. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Drivas. She forced a smile. Mandela? Italian? Her eyes shot over to Nick quickly before she focused back on me. With a nod, I forced out my answer. Yes, my mother and father moved from Italy to New Jersey before I was born. Shit. I just told the truth. Damn it, Gabby. Her eyes darted back and forth from me to Nick. Nicholas? You didn't tell me you were seeing someone. Nick cleared his throat. I was actually going to call you and Dad to see if you wanted to do dinner tonight. Maybe invite Thano and Kylan and spend some time with Kira. Katerina's eyes snapped over to Nick. Uh-huh. I see. Oh, shit. It turns out I won't be able to do dinner tonight, I quickly added. I'm so sorry to run, Mrs. Drivas, but I've got an emergency at the bakery. It was so very nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you. She forced a smile. I wish I could say the same. Nick reached for my hand, but I quickly pulled it away. Gabby. Turning to Nick, I did my best to smile. I'm sorry to run off. I walked as fast as I could to the door. Opening it, I stepped outside and hustled to the elevators. I could hear the sound of his condo door shutting and Nick following me.
Gabby, wait. Damn it, if you would wait for 1 fucking second.
Hitting the down button, I forced myself to not cry. Nick grabbed me and turned me to face him.
It's not what you think.
A harsh laugh slipped from my lips. Really? Because you have another woman's makeup bag in your spare bathroom and a note telling her to meet you at your place for what? A fuck fest, Nick? I see you like your women with no panties. That must have been an extra little turn-on for you earlier. Nick closed his eyes, and I had to look away, or I'd start to cry.
That's Scarlett's bag, and I haven't seen her in months.
Hearing him say her name hurt more than I thought it would. I didn't even know this woman, but I knew she had shared Nick's bed, and most likely more than once if she had a bag in his bathroom. Knowing that brought out a side of me I'd never experienced before. My jealous side. My teeth sunk into my trembling lip. Nick used his finger on my chin to pull my eyes to his.
That's not true. I see Scarlett when we go to her dad's place to eat lunch sometimes. But the only thing we do is exchange a hello. I swear to you, Gabby, I haven't slept with Scarlett since I've met you. I haven't slept with anyone but you. I don't want to sleep with anyone other than you.
You still see her? When was the last time you slept with her?
It's been months, at least 6. And yes, I see her, but it's like I said, we exchange a simple hello.
I had to force down the sick feeling I felt at knowing Nick saw his old fuck buddy often. I finally lost the battle and let my tears fall. I hated being so weak and vulnerable, but that was what Nick did to me. He brought out emotions and feelings I'd never experienced before. Nick cupped my face within his hands while brushing my tears away with his thumbs. A look of disappointment swept across his face.
I'm sorry you found that. And I'm so sorry you would think I would do that to you.
I shook my head, feeling foolish how I reacted. I'm sorry I acted that way. I'm not sure what in the world is going on with me. You bring out so many different feelings and I'm so confused, Nick. I've never in my life been a jealous person, but seeing that note after what we just shared, all these images of you with another woman came crashing in on me. His smile made my knees weak.
I swear to God I would never hurt you, Gabby.
The way he gazed into my eyes, I knew he was telling me the truth. I also felt it in my heart. His lips pressed to mine. Wrapping my arms around his neck, I kissed him back. When he finally pulled back some, he softly whispered against my mouth.
I know it hasn't even been 2 weeks, and I hope like hell I'm not about to fuck things up.
My breath stalled in my throat.
I'm falling in love with you.
His words rushed through my mind like a bolt of lightning. Every hair on my body rose. I needed to tell Nick the truth. Everything needed to be out in the open before I declared my love to him. No. I was going to follow my heart and not my head. I'm falling in love with you too. The brilliant smile that covered his face made me giggle.
Please don't leave. I don't want your first meeting with my mother to be like that.
What would we say if I came back? Right then, my phone went off. It was Max. Nick frowned. Emergency at the bakery. Looks like I really do need to leave. He nodded, then holding up his finger, he said,
Wait, don't move. I'll be right back.
I watched as he raced back to his condo. A minute later, he and his mother walked out of the condo and headed in my direction. I couldn't shake the feeling I had when his mother stared at me like a bug that needed to be stepped on.
I told my mom about your emergency at the bakery. She wants to come along.
My eyes widened in horror. What? To the bakery? Katerina smiled big. You're a baker. I love to bake. And cook. Oh, shit. Me too, I said before I realized how it sounded more like a challenge than a simple response. She nodded. So, let's go see this place of yours. I can hardly contain my excitement. First to learn my eldest son is dating, and then to find out she owns her own Italian bakery. The way she stressed Italian couldn't be a good thing, and by the look on her face, I would say she was far from excited. When we stepped onto the elevator, she glanced over to me. Are you recovered from your choking incident? With a wide smile, I nodded my head and tapped my hand on Nick's chest. Oh yes, Nick saved me. I'm sorry we had made such a mess. Things got a little crazy. Nick attempted to hold back a laugh. Katerina simply smiled. As we stepped out of the elevator, she walked next to Nick and went on and on about a baby shower. I took up my phone and sent Kylan a text. Me. 911. Katerina showed up at Nick's right after we had sex. She's with us now, going to the bakery for an emergency. She responded back within seconds. Kylan. This is code red. I repeat, code red. You've had the forced meeting. That is never good. Take deep breaths, and whatever you do, don't tell her you own the bakery. Oh no. Me. Too late. Kylan. Oh, no. Okay, be prepared. She is going to insult you in ways where she is acting like she isn't insulting you. Be ready. Smile. Don't let her know she's getting to you. I cringed on the inside. Glancing up, I noticed Katerina stood at the passenger side door. She was giving me an exasperated look, and I winced, wondering how long she had been waiting for me to walk up. Then I noticed she was standing at the front passenger side door, making me go to the back seat. With a smile, I slid into the back seat and started back up with my texting. Me. She's making me sit in the back seat. WTF? Kylan. That doesn't surprise me. You are a bug she needs to crush. Okay, next, be ready for the challenge. Me. Challenge? Kylan. Yes. She needs to prove you unworthy of her son and her above you. What better way to do it than challenge you in some way? My heart was racing. Me. OMG, what kind of challenge? Kylan. That's the tricky part. She'll throw it on you when you're least expecting it. Don't let her see your weakness. Who are you texting? Nick asked as I jumped and let out a yelp. Oh, Max. More lies. Nervous little thing, isn't she? Katerina said. I swallowed hard as I glanced up at Nick. What in the world am I about to get myself into? He glanced up in the mirror and winked. Then he mouthed, I'm sorry. And all my fears melted away. So, my oldest son has decided to go against his parents' wishes. Don't show fear. Mama, Nick warned. An Italian, she huffed under her breath. I am so screwed. Me. She's going to eat me up and spit me out. Why does she not like Italians? Kylan. No, she is not. Okay, that's a lie. She probably is. I think Dad dated one once and things didn't turn out well. Listen, you walk into that bakery and you own that bitch. Well, wait, you do own it. You stand proud, and whatever you do, don't look her directly in the eye. She has a direct path to your soul. Me. God help me. Kylan. You're gonna need more than just him. Chapter 17. Gabby. My nerves were rattled as I walked into the back hallway of the bakery. Katerina's eyes were everywhere, taking it all in. Excuse me, I need to find Max. You're more than welcome to hang out in my office or in the bakery. Katerina forced a smile and nodded. Turning to Nick, I gave him a weak grin and headed to find out what was going on. Please don't let it be anything bad. When I walked into the bakery, I was happy to see it was pretty full. I would have died if there hadn't been anyone here. I walked up to Max. What's up? He spun around and looked at me. The mixer won't start, and we need to make 30 lemon mascarpone cakes to be picked up tomorrow evening. My mouth dropped as my eyes widened in shock. Why? Someone called earlier and asked if we could manage it. We were slow and had a working mixer, so I didn't think it would be a problem. Charity ran an errand and I haven't been able to reach her. I don't understand. Why would someone need that many cakes? Max shrugged. I don't know. She said she had stopped by the bakery before and had some.
Said it reminded her of her grandmother's lemon mascarpone cakes.
My heart stopped. He loved my lemon mascarpone cakes. What if I'd been found?
What did she look like?
Max shrugged.
She called, Gabby. I have no clue what she looks like.
Oh, right. Did she happen to leave her name?
Staring at me as if I'd lost my damn mind, Max said, Yes, but Gabby, the mixer's not working, and we need to get them made, and you're worried about her name?
I nodded. The fact that she mentioned it reminded her of her grandmother's recipe is what threw me. That recipe was my grandmother's, and I used it right down to the secret ingredient.
Right, sorry. Let's look at it. I can't imagine anything going out on it. It's only a year old. Max and I headed to the mixer, only to find Nick was already working on it. I quickly glanced around to see where Katerina was. She was walking off, heading into the dining area of the bakery. Focusing back on Nick, I asked, Do you have any idea what's wrong? He glanced up and smiled. Yeah, the breaker tripped. He turned on the mixer and it came to life. Relief washed over my body. Thank God that was it. I jumped into Nick's arms the moment he stood. Thank you for fixing it. With a chuckle, he kissed me on the forehead, then looked at Max. You didn't think to look at the breaker? Max gave Nick a deer-in-the-headlights look. The breaker? Yeah, Max. Somehow the breaker was tripped. Why in the world would I think about that? I'm a pastry chef, not an electrician. Spinning on his heels, Max quickly set off to getting everything ready to make the cakes. I turned back to Nick. We received a huge order for lemon mascarpone cakes. I need to stay and help. Where's Charity? Nick asked. I shrugged as I put an apron on. Max said she left to run an errand when things were slow and hasn't been able to get a hold of her. I'm so sorry, I need to stay and help. Nick flashed that amazing smile of his. Let me take my mom back to her car, then I'll come back and help. My stomach dropped. This man was a dream come true. I felt so foolish for how I had acted earlier. I love that. Katerina cleared her throat and we both turned to face her. Nonsense, I'll stay and help. Nick laughed, but when Katerina shot him a dirty look, he stopped. You're so sweet, I said with a smile, but honestly, you don't have to do that. Lifting her head, Katerina simply grinned and said, I want to help. Now, you go out there with your customers, and I'll help Nick and... Max, I added. Yes, Max. I'll help him make your mascarpone cake. My eyes darted over to Nick, who simply shrugged. Damn, where was Kylan when I needed her? Okay. Max knows all the measurements and such. Katerina put her hands on my back and gently gave me a push. Off you go. I am the master in the kitchen. My eyes widened in horror. Nick took my elbow and led me out into the bakery. It felt as though someone was sitting on my chest as I glanced over my shoulder and watched the scene play out before my eyes. Katerina turned to Max, placed her hands on her hips and said, Give me the recipe, young man. I'm in charge. Oh my God, I whispered as I stopped and headed back into the kitchen. Katerina, honestly, you don't have to do this. She slowly turned and looked at me. Do you not trust me? I let out a nervous laugh. Well, you did just find out your son was dating me and that I'm not Greek. Nick let out a small groan from behind me. Young lady, I take cooking very seriously. This is your business, and obviously my Nicholas seems to be entranced by you. Therefore, I intend on helping you. It is not a sin to admit when you are defeated and need help. My head pulled back. I'm not defeated. Let it go, Nick whispered from behind me. Katerina laughed. You seem rattled, my dear. Maybe you're not used to getting a large order. It was my turn to laugh. I've gotten bigger. When Katerina lifted her brow, I knew this was it. The challenge. Oh, hell no. You're not doing this on my turf. Nick let out a nervous chuckle from behind me. Gabby, why don't we let Max and my mom start this? Liza is swamped up front. Katerina narrowed her eyes at me, silently willing me to dare her.
I was going to nip this shit in the bud. "Max," I said with a firm voice, "go help Liza. Katerina and I will take care of the cakes." Max walked up to me. "Are you sure?" I nodded. I tried to push down my fear about this order and brush it off as an overreaction. "Go help her, and try Charity again." A slow smile moved across her face. This lady was good, but this time she wasn't going to win. Not with me in my own kitchen. "Are you sure you can keep up with me, Gabriella?" Oh, it's on. "Are you sure you can keep up with me?" "Katerina." She smiled bigger. Nick walked up and stood between us. "What's happening right now?" Giving him a pat on the chest, I replied, "We're about to get our mascarpone on." Nick looked between his mother and I with a mixed expression of both concern and amusement. I walked over to the giant refrigerator and took out 2 large bowls of my always-on-hand lemon curd. Placing them on the kitchen's stainless steel island, I looked at Katerina. "What's that?" Nick asked. "Lemon curd," Katerina answered with a smile. "Because everyone knows you have to make the lemon curd ahead of time," I added. Clearing his throat, I glanced over to Nick. He looked between his mother and me, then laughed. "So this ought to be interesting." Katerina took one of the bowls. "Italian food is nothing but Greek food, but with less love." I went to say something when Nick kissed me, then whispered against my lips. "Just take her help. I promise I'll make it up to you." My lower stomach pooled with heat. "For you," I whispered. "I'm doing this for you." He laughed. "Uh-huh. Okay." It didn't take long for Katerina and I to get lost in the baking process. She was good, there was no denying it, but she was not about to show me up in my own kitchen. Little did I know I was setting myself up for Katerina's real challenge. I sat down at a table and sighed. 30 lemon mascarpone cakes, done. Nick grinned and squatted down. He lightly pushed a strand of hair from my face. "You look beautiful." With a chuckle, I stared into his beautiful hazel eyes. "I'm a mess, Nick. I nearly killed myself trying to keep up with your mother." My eyes lifted and looked behind the bakery counter where Katerina was currently trying to take over and helping Liza with customers. Look at her. It's like she's not the least bit fazed by all that baking. She's the Energizer Bunny on crack. Nick glanced over his shoulder to his mother. "That was nothing compared to some of the cooking I've seen my mother do." I sat up. Oh crap, she probably thinks I'm a lazy Italian. Jumping, I quickly made my way through the bakery and started cleaning up. In a few minutes, we would be closing up. Nick grabbed me by the waist and turned me around. "It's your day off." My brows rose. I have no idea where Charity is. This is not like her to just vanish and leave the bakery. I started chewing on my thumbnail when Nick pulled it from my mouth. "Stop. Now come on. Let's get my mother out of your bakery before she slips something Greek into the display." Giggling, I nodded as he took my hand in his. "Mama, you ready to head out? I'm sure Dad is probably withering away with no dinner." Katerina rolled her eyes and huffed. She pulled Liza in for a hug, then turned to Max. I tried not to laugh when he stiffened up like a board when she hugged him. As she made her way over to us, I couldn't help but notice how she looked completely and utterly unfazed by the fact that she just baked all those cakes. Stopping in front of me, she smiled. "Your baking skills are there. You just need to get faster. You're very slow, and your lemon curd needs a bit of work." Her eyes wandered over me before capturing mine. "If only you were Greek, there might be hope." My smile dropped and my mouth fell open. "Oh shit," Nick mumbled. "Mama, let's head on back to my place so you can get your car." I stood there, stunned. Holy crap. She just insulted me in like 3 different ways. Nick stood in front of me. "Gabby?" My eyes swung up to his. "I'm taking my mother back to my place. Did you want me to come back for you?" His eyes looked pleading. He had nothing to worry about. The last place I wanted to be was in the car with her again, so she could insult me more. Yes, that sounds good. Nick leaned in and kissed me on the lips quickly. He pulled back slightly and said, "I'll be back as fast as I can." Nodding, I forced a smile. My eyes moved past him to see Katerina standing there with a look I couldn't read. Was she still bothered by Nick and I, or was she maybe getting used to the idea? No, she certainly wasn't used to the idea. I swallowed hard. "Thank you so much for helping, Katerina. It was a pleasure meeting you." She nodded. "The pleasure was mine. I enjoyed myself. Nicholas? I'll be back soon." I lifted my hand and waved as I watched them walk through the back hall and out of sight. Max walked up to me and stood there staring down the hall. "That woman scared the piss out of me." "Me too." He laughed and I turned to him. "What's so funny?" I asked. With a shrug, all he said was, "You're so screwed." My body sank and I let out a sigh. I had a feeling he was right.
Chapter 18. Nick. When I couldn't take the silence any longer, I spoke. "Tell me what you're thinking, Mama." She sighed.
"I'm thinking 2 of my sons are trying to kill their mother."
I laughed. "Why?"
"One girl is Irish, now the other is Italian. Nicholas, we can find you a nice Greek girl. Why must you settle on this one? Italian. That's worse than Irish."
The grip on my steering wheel tightened. "Because I like this one. Mama, why is it so damn important for you that I marry a Greek girl? Do you not love Kylan?" She huffed. "Mama?"
"Of course I love Kylan. She makes your brother very happy, and she has given me a beautiful granddaughter whom I love very, very much."
"Even though she is half Irish?" Her head snapped to look at me.
"I don't look at Kira like that."
"And why do you look at Kylan and Gabby that way, Mama?" Her eyes narrowed at me.
"Why can't you find a Greek woman? Why Italian?"
"Because the first moment I met Gabby, something happened that has never happened to me before. Never. Not with a Greek girl, not with any girl." Her look of frustration turned to a look of surprise.
"What are you saying, Nicholas?"
I pulled into my parking spot and turned to face my mother. Taking her hand in mine, I kissed the back of it. "I'm saying that I've never felt this way before. And I really want to see where this goes. Please don't do anything to try to push Gabby away." She swallowed hard.
"You really care for this girl?"
"I really do. I'm falling in love with her." With a gasp, she covered her mouth. Then tears formed in her eyes.
"Oh, my baby is falling in love."
She looked up and started rattling off in Greek before she finally glanced back at me.
"Do you think she would take a DNA test?"
My smile dropped. "What for?" With a shrug, she stated,
"She might have a bit of Greek in her."
I rolled my eyes and got out of my truck. This wasn't going to be easy. Gabby's front door was cracked open when I walked up to it. Pushing it open, I called out, "Gabby? Charity?" I heard a voice coming from the balcony outside. As I got closer, I realized it was Gabby's voice.
"I understand how this works. I've been doing it for 6 years now. No, I don't think so."
Her voice was different, cold, on edge. Whoever she was talking to, they made her feel on guard.
"I'm just as tired of this as you are, believe me."
Not wanting to eavesdrop, I cleared my throat and Gabby jumped, then spun around. Her somber face was quickly replaced with a huge smile. Her eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning.
"That's fine. I need to let you go."
She hit end and pushed her phone into her back pocket.
"Hey,"
she said softly. I walked up to her and pulled her into my arms. "I missed you."
"You've only been gone for an hour."
"That's too long." With a giggle, she buried her face into my chest. I could feel the stress releasing from her body as I held her to me. "Is everything okay?" I asked. Pulling her head back, her eyes searched my face. I swore it looked like she wanted to tell me something, but she smiled and replied,
"It is now that you're here."
You seemed a little tense when I walked up. "I wasn't listening to your conversation, but I could tell you were on edge."
"It's nothing. Business stuff."
She tried to give me a reassuring smile, but I wasn't fully buying it.
"So, does your mom hate me?"
I laughed. Actually, she invited us to dinner again since we had to cancel. Gabby's face fell.
Oh no. I never told Kylan dinner was not happening tonight.
Cupping her face in my hands, I grinned. I called Thano when everything happened at the bakery. I forgot to tell you Kylan said to call her. I'm sure she'll want a play-by-play of how that all went. Gabby laughed nervously.
That was crazy. I'm curious to see who this person is who ordered all those cakes.
The sound of the front door shutting had us both turning to look back into the living room. Charity walked by and Gabby immediately headed in.
Where were you, Charity?
Gabby called out, anger lacing her voice. Charity stopped walking.
What? I couldn't help but notice she looked a little confused. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyes seemed like she was lost in another world. You left to run an errand and never came back. We had an emergency at the bakery and Max had to call me.
Narrowing her eyes, Charity replied,
Max always has a damn emergency. Well, I just spent the last few hours baking 30 lemon mascarpone cakes with Nick's mom. Not how I really wanted to get to know the woman.
Charity glanced over to me and pressed her lips together, trying not to laugh.
So?
Gabby asked, her hands now resting on her hips. She looked so damn cute standing there all pissed off. I wanted to drag her off to her bedroom and sink deep inside of her.
So what? Charity, where were you? I ran an errand and then got caught by someone I know and we got to talking and I totally lost track of the time. Was your phone off? We called you.
She looked between Gabby and me before focusing back in on Gabby.
I lost my phone. I must have left it somewhere.
Something was off. Charity was nervous as hell. She could hardly look at either one of us.
I've got a massive headache. If you don't mind, I need to go lay down.
Gabby and I both watched as she walked into her room and slowly shut the door. Is she okay? Something didn't seem right, I asked. Gabby stared at the door.
I'm not sure. I hope she's okay. She's never lost her phone before. It's like her safety beacon. I think she needed to breathe.
I laughed and pulled her over to me. So we have the evening to ourselves. What do you want to do? She pulled her lip in between her teeth.
Would you be upset if I said I wanted to stay in? I'm exhausted.
Lifting my hand, I brushed her blonde hair behind her ear. As long as I'm with you, I don't care where we are. When she smiled, my knees felt weak. How about I pour you a glass of wine and you sit on the sofa? I'll massage your feet. Her eyes lit up.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like heaven.
Slapping her on the ass, I motioned for her to sit down while I headed into her kitchen. I'd remembered where her wine glasses were from our first date when she made me dinner. I grabbed 2 wine glasses and set them on the counter. Glancing down, I saw the itinerary for her trip to Italy. You excited about your trip to Italy? Her head whipped to look at me.
What? Why do you ask?
Jesus, she was on edge. I saw your itinerary and I know you had mentioned you were looking forward to going. Her face relaxed and then finally her body did as well.
Oh, right. I am looking forward to going back. I'll be worried about the bakery, though.
Handing her a wine glass, I winked as I sat down next to her. I'm sure Charity will take care of the bakery. After she took a sip, she frowned.
She was nowhere to be found today. If I hadn't had been there, what would have happened?
Max would have told the customer it was too short of a notice, but that next time they needed something to please keep your bakery in mind. The corners of her mouth pulled up into a beautiful smile.
You're right. If I hadn't had the lemon curd made up, we wouldn't have been able to do it anyway.
Right. She took another sip.
Do you think it was sort of a test? I mean, seriously, who needs that many cakes?
Laughing, I shook my head and reached for her foot. She'd already kicked her shoes off. Someone having a party, large dinner, a company? I could think of 100 things. We both set our glasses on the coffee table. Gabby slid down on the sofa while I took both feet and began massaging them.
That feels heavenly.
Her eyes closed and her lips slightly parted open. My dick was getting harder by the second. I pushed a little harder and she gasped before letting out another moan. I think we should move this to your bedroom. Opening her eyes, she asked,
Why?
With a half grin, I replied, Because I want your ass naked so I can give you a proper massage, that's why. Gabby giggled and pulled her feet from my lap. Standing, I took her hand and led her to her bedroom. My heart was pounding like it always did when I was with this woman. She did crazy things to not only my body, but my heart as well. When I shut the bedroom door, Gabby pulled her shirt over her head. My hands cupped her breasts while my thumbs rubbed her nipples through the thin lace bra. Beep, 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 beep. We both froze. Fuck, I angrily said. Gabby closed her eyes and sighed. Terrible timing. Cupping her face within my hands, I kissed her. Our tongues danced hungrily as I pulled her closer. Deepening the kiss, we were lost in each other. If I thought I could go fast, I'd have taken her right then. Beep, 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 beep. God damn it. I want you, Gabby. Her hands moved down my back and over my ass, where she squeezed me and pushed her hips into my dick. Come back by when you're done. My forehead rested on hers as I pulled my pager out. It could be hours. I don't care. You know the rule. Don't take care of yourself. She smiled as her fingers traced along the stubble on my jaw. I promise I won't. I kissed her quickly again before pulling out my pager, then my phone. My heart sank, knowing I was leaving my sweet Gabby. Calling in, I told Oliver I was on my way. There's a hostage situation happening. Her eyes widened in fear. I kissed the tip of her nose. It's okay, baby. I'll call and check in, but if you don't hear from me, don't worry. She nodded, but I knew what I was asking was impossible. Gabby, if my job is going to... She lifted her fingers to my lips. It's not. I can't help but worry, and I'm sure I will always worry. But your job will never keep me away from you. Smiling, I pulled her closer and kissed her softly. I pulled back and looked into her eyes one more time. I asked, Are you sure everything is okay, Gabby? The way she looked at me, I knew she was holding back something. I wasn't going to push her, though. She'd tell me whenever she was ready, whatever it was. Everything's fine. One more kiss, and I was heading to my truck. I couldn't stop thinking of those sweet, soft lips pressed against mine, or the way her hands felt moving over my body. Shaking my head, I tried to clear my thoughts. I needed to have a clear head and couldn't afford a distraction. I made a mental note to talk to Oliver about Gabby. By the time I got to the station and in the briefing room, I pretty much had my head clear. The only thing that still bothered me was the fact I knew Gabby was keeping something from me. Sitting in front of my computer, I typed in Gabby's name and hit search. I wasn't sure why I did it, but I sure as hell wasn't expecting the results I got.
Chapter 19. Gabby. Nick hadn't called, and it had been over 12 hours since he left my place. I sat in the bakery at one of the tables in the back as I pored over financial stuff. Not my favorite thing to do. Liza sat down across from me and handed me a cup of coffee. It's calm right now, but wait until we get closer to lunch. I smiled. I'm okay with calm. Every time the door chime rang, I looked up in a state of panic. Wasn't sure why, but I was on edge. It could have been my phone conversation last night with Antonio that had me more nervous than normal. Of course, Nick walking up on my conversation had me even tenser. Gabby, is everything okay? You seem really distracted today. With a reassuring smile, I nodded. My eyes caught a glimpse of Charity. She was an absolute basket case. I'd never seen her drop things like she kept doing and fumbling around with stuff. She was currently standing behind the counter staring off into space. Enough was enough. I needed to speak with her and find out what was going on. Liza, will you excuse me? I need to speak with Charity in the office. Standing with me, Liza nodded. Sure. I need to get some cannolis made anyway. I've been stalling. I chuckled as I closed my laptop and made my way over to Charity. Hey, can we talk in the office? She pulled her eyes away from the front window and looked at me. What was that? Tilting my head, I narrowed my eyes. She was totally off in La La Land. Can we talk in the office? With a smile, she nodded and said, Sure. I motioned for her to go first as I followed her. I was supposed to have today off, but with Nick still working, I figured I might as well come in and take care of things. Shutting the door, I set my computer on my desk as Charity flopped onto the small sofa and sighed. Something was different about her. She had a glow to her. Oh, holy shit. You slept with someone. She jolted up. What?
How did you know? Who told you? I leaned against the desk and held up my hands. Whoa, hold on to your panties there. It was a guess. You're acting different. I am not. I smiled. You're glowing. Her eyes widened in horror. I am not fucking glowing. You're glowing. With a giggle, I replied, I'm sure I am. I'm falling in love with Nick. A huge smile spread over her face as she stood and walked up to me. Taking my hand in hers, she shook her head. My baby girl is growing up. Yanking my hands from her, I pushed her away. Stop it, I'm serious. We both kind of admitted to each other we were falling for one another. Her brow lifted. Kind of? I shrugged. Okay, we did. But this isn't about me. This is about you and how you disappeared yesterday and then came back and you're acting all weird. I just want to make sure everything is okay. She took a few steps back and buried her face in her hands and let out a small scream. Okay, so that answers the, are you okay question? Oh, Gabby, I'm so far from okay. I don't know what happened. I felt... Oh, God. She flopped back on the sofa. I didn't get any of that, Charity. You're what? Who is he, and what did you feel? She covered her face again and said, I slept with Cole yesterday. Scissoring her fingers to peek at me, I stared at her in disbelief. Wait, what? Her hands dropped to the sides of her body while she slumped over. He came into the bakery like he always does, but for some reason I was insanely turned on by him yesterday. He was different. He didn't act stupid or try to flirt. He was nice. Really nice. I pursed my lips and gave her a, really? Look. Don't judge. I haven't had good sex in so long I'm starting to think I need to plan a wedding with my vibrator. I covered my mouth to hide my chuckle. Anyway, Cole came in, acted all sweet, and then he left. But I left right after to run to the store to buy more vanilla. Oh, by the way, we're very close to being out of vanilla. I never made it to the store because Cole was walking out of that little boutique a few doors down and we ran into each other. I swear to God, the heat from his body lit mine on fire and I almost came on the spot. I groaned and looked away. The next thing I knew, we were at a hotel and he was giving me the best sex of my life. Wiggling my eyebrows, I smiled wide. Really? Yes. Then he did something no guy has ever done. Do I really want to know what he did? Yes, because I'm so confused by it I haven't had an ounce of sleep. I can't stop thinking about him and wondering when I'll see him again. My mind is racing and I keep asking myself if I dreamed it all up yesterday. I pushed off the desk, walked over, and sat next to her. Taking her hand in mine, I asked, my gosh, what did he do? She turned to look at me and said, he made love to me and then stayed. My eyes widened. Huh? He was slow and took his time as he worshipped my body and did things to me I never knew were possible. I came 4 times yesterday. 4! I've never had more than 1 orgasm with a man in my entire life. She smiled and closed her eyes as she kept talking. My God, the man made sweet love to me even though he whispered in my ear that he wanted to fuck my brains out. Nice, I said with a snarled lip. Refocusing on me again, she grinned. I've never had a guy give me that much attention. It's usually more like, let me rip your panties off, bend you over the table, and fuck you till I grunt and come in 6 pumps. I laughed. But Cole wasn't that way? No. I thought he was going to be, and I was okay with it. But when we got to the hotel and he kissed me, something happened. I know we both felt it. He took his time undressing me, and then he what? I cried out. He kissed my entire body while he trailed his hands over me. Her body trembled at the memory. I had never felt so sexy in my entire life. He whispered how beautiful I was against my skin, and I swear it seared into my soul. What I thought was going to be a random hookup turned into the most amazing afternoon of my life. My heart seized in my chest. Cole didn't really seem like the one-girl kind of guy. So, after he made love to you, what happened? Her eyes widened as if she was still in shock. He pulled me into his arms, and we laid there and talked. About everything. And he told me about his job, and I told him about how we met and we were like sisters. He asked me about my family, and we talked about his. I mean, it was crazy insane how comfortable I felt with this man. I mean, sure, I've somewhat flirted with him for weeks, but this side of him, it was like he really cared and wanted to know. It wasn't a ploy to get into my pants because, well, duh, he already had, and if he asked me again, I'd spread wide for him. Oh my gosh, you're so crude, I said, hitting her shoulder with my hand. Then what happened? Her face lit up. He asked me to take a shower with him. What started as slow and sweet turned into the best fucking of my life. I came so hard I thought I was going to pass the hell out. I laughed. Did you use protection? That's when her smile dropped. My stomach dropped and I felt sick. Charity, I whispered. Her eyes filled with tears. We did the first time. The second time in the shower, things got hot and heavy so fast we both lost control. I didn't remember until he was coming, and even then it felt so good I pushed it from my head so I could enjoy the moment. Now I'm scared shitless. Gabby, I'm not on the pill. I stopped taking it a few weeks ago. I'm so scared. I took her hands in mine. Did you tell him you weren't on the pill? She nodded. What did he say? I asked as I held my breath. A tear slipped from her eye and slowly made a path down her beautiful face. I reached up and wiped it as I tried to imagine how she must be feeling.